Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with the new video. Today is Thursday, April 24th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can, Cash App $ ORIONNWSF, or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the NFL Draft 2025. Round number one here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They're going to get the picks going here in roughly. First pick will be, made obviously in about 10 minutes. So let's get settled in. We're going to be here for the next 4 hours. And I had to go back and look at some of the older streams to see if it was 3 or 4 hours. So we're going to be here from 5 o'clock Pacific all the way to about 9:15 Pacific time. And again, we'll be able to find out where a lot of our favorite players that we watched in the college football season last season are going to go. And hopefully some of them are going to fall to your favorite teams as well as mine. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. Obviously, me and Reflect, we're over the moon. We're giddy. First series win in many, many years. And anytime you can end up going to Boston and then you end up, having a series win for the first time in 11 years, it's a big deal, and can't wait to be able to see what we get here today. And on the thumb, you know what I had to do. On the left, first pick in the draft, undoubtedly, Cam Ward from the U, and also played at Washington State for the Cougs. We remember him very well. And on the right, running back prospect, could be the next Saquon Barkley. We don't know, but we'll find out. Boise State's very own Ashton Jeanty. Let's go. Like the way that this thumbnail turned out, and I am excited to see where this draft goes. Hybrid in the building, what's good? Reflect in the building, what's good? A little $3 holla to get us started off. Jacks with a little racks and a little bit of jack. Bang, bang. Anything that you want to see photo-wise, let me know. And definitely excited to see where this draft will go. I mean, obviously we know Cam Ward is going number 1 overall. At number 2, obviously you can go Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, even though you already have Myles Garrett already there, but again, it kind of depends on preference. There will be teams calling up to see if they can trade up for Travis Hunter, as well as the Giants trading up for Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter at that point. And then there's a lot of other individuals that are studs. LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell, Ashton Jeanty could go as high as 5 to Jacksonville, or maybe, at number 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. But if they don't, there's plenty of other running backs that they can go for. Mason Graham is a stud D tackle for Michigan. There's quite a few teams that will be looking at him. The Saints and the Steelers are going to be reportedly looking at Shedeur Sanders at 9, and obviously a little bit later in the draft. So definitely excited to be able to see some surprises where Tyler Warren ends up dropping. There's going to be, some guys that are going to get drafted higher than expected. There's going to be guys that slide in the draft. Quarterback class is not good this year compared to last year and years past. But even if, the first 10 picks underwhelmed, again, there's enough talent in this draft, rounds 2 through 5 to really be able to get starters, guys that could make a difference. Definitely excited to see where this goes. Hybrid in the building, what's good? Hybrid in the building, what's good? Matthew and Gabby in the building, what's good? Sarah in the building, what's good? Let's go. The thing is for the Titans, though, you're gonna need a quarterback, and if they feel confident that Cam Ward, is the guy, Travis Hunter can play corner and wide receiver, but if you end up playing that, there's a good chance that an injury could happen, and we know Travis Hunter is a freakish athlete. It's going to be the closest thing to maybe a Deion Sanders type that we've seen that can play wide receiver and corner. We'll find out. And again, I feel comfortable with a few guys in this draft. Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, Tyler Warren, Abdul Carter, and Mason Graham, and a few others. But again, injuries can derail a lot of different teams, but we'll find out how it all goes down. Let's go, baby. I know Paisley Puff is Gonna be thinking, Dad, didn't you already do like a 3.5 hour stream already? And we got a walk-in in the afternoon. We got to enjoy a little bit of the sun. And when you have events like this, you got to push out and you got to grind out. And definitely excited to see what we get here in round 1 at Green Bay. Amber in the building, what's good? Matt in the building, what's good? First time in 11 years beating Boston on the road in a series. Yeah, with a 5-er. Yes. I mean, and again, if Tyler Warren is there, pull the trigger. We want that Dallas Clark, right? 2.0. We want that Brock Bowers. We want that Sam Laporta. And hopefully that's the route they go. Stack, racks, a little cactus jam, bang, bang. Appreciate you. And again, when you have multiple needs, as a team, it doesn't mean necessarily out of your top 3 needs, you're going to get your first pick at that position. Sometimes, when people end up getting the guy that you want, then you have to pivot. And then instead of getting maybe a running back, then you're going to have to take the best team tackle. Something that the Raiders, they have to look at. If Genty's off the board, that they may go Mason Graham, and they go for a player like that could definitely benefit them. So again, it really is going to depend if we have any trades in this first round, and also, who slides a little bit and who ends up trading up. But again, we're going to have a few stars definitely in this first round. And depending on how, we get results-wise, likes, subs, views, donos on this particular stream, then we'll decide tomorrow. I'll think it over. We'll either do round 2 and 3, which will be at 4 o'clock Pacific, or we'll do the Mariners game, obviously against the Miami Marlins, and I believe that's around 6:30 or 6:40. So I haven't really decided what we're going to do for tomorrow. Will I watch round 2 and round 3 tomorrow? Yes, but I don't know yet if I want to do a Mariners stream or if I want to do an NFL draft stream tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I will be watching rounds 4 through 7. But I'm not really sure if I'm going to do a stream for that. Probably not. Usually when I do the streams, it's just for round 1 and typically rounds 2 and 3. But we'll see how it goes here tonight. Let's go, baby. I got to work, Paisley. You want to lay down? You can lay down. Daddy's got to work, okay? I got to work, so you can lay down. I promise we'll play a little bit after. But Daddy's got to put in some work if you want to stay close. Paisley wants some nice belly rubs, a little massage, and we'll see what we end up getting here in this draft, baby. And obviously we know the quarterback class next year, year after, should be much better, but again, there's still some notable names, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, and a few others. So, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, and obviously some of these guys are not going today. I would be shocked if we have 4 quarterbacks in the first round, but I could see 3 getting drafted in the first, even though maybe only 1 or 2 are really deserving, maybe of a first round pick, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Captain with a 20. Hey, first series win in Boston, Captain, in 11 years. Can you believe that? Let's go. And definitely O-line for your Hawks. Stacks, racks, with a little cactus jack, bang, bang. The only problem is that if they pick O-line, sometimes they pick the wrong guy. So again, yes, O-line is important, but if you don't have the proper evaluators in the building, you might end up picking the wrong guy. And that has happened numerous times, for Seattle. So, and people wanted to, point the blame at just Pete Carroll. But remember, Schneider's involved, and they got other coaches there now. So we'll see how it goes. But again, should be pretty exciting as you got Goodell coming in on the bike, taking the booze like he always does. But one thing is for sure, my ESP, your ESP, everyone already knows Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. That's already a done deal, okay? Now, when we get to number 2 and as we go further down, then it's a real question. Do you want Travis Hunter, or do you want Abdul Carter, or do you want to take more picks and trade down? And again, I think Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter could be 2 of the top 4 in this overall draft. As Little Wayne on the bike as well. Nice to be able to see the fans there at Green Bay. And I can't wait to see what we get here. Let's go, baby. And then any photos that we, you know what? I had to do my deep diving and digging, and then I had to go and verify with some of the other Mariner nerds to make sure that stat was correct, and it is. We haven't won in Boston in 11 fucking years in a series. So that felt really, really good. We barely won, but we did. Calvin in the building. What's good? Let's go, baby. And I got the music volume at 40. And again, when I end up doing the streams, I'm trying to find the right volume. You know, when I do the baseball streams, I usually have it at 50. But if I need to tone it down to 45 or 40, you know, just holler and let me know when you guys are on the broadcast, because I want it to be, you know, the background music, but not too loud and overbearing. And then right now I got it at 40. So that way it's just kind of in the background, but we can still listen to the TV and you know, hear the picks and go over everything. So. I'm excited. I was going to wear all the jerseys and whatnot, but it started to get a little bit hot. So decided to go with a nice, comfortable sideline tee. And I ended up putting on my hard hat, but the hard hat didn't really fit fully in the screen. You know, it kind of went above and beyond the screen. So I figured I would just go with the beanie. I think that will be a good fit and a good look. So. And we don't even know if Cam Ward is going to pan out, you know, for the Titans. You know, we've had guys in the past like Locker, you know, from the Huskies, and, you know, they had the whole Malik Willis and Will Levis experiment. And again, you know, even when they had Ryan Tannehill, which is probably their best quarterback since Steve McNair and Warren Moon. But again, you have to have a running back, Derrick Henry. You have to have a number one receiver, A.J. Brown. And ever since that kind of blew up, you know, they haven't really been the same since. And, you know, the Titans are, you know, one of those teams that are in the bottom of the AFC South, and you're starting to see, like, Jacksonville is good one year, bad next year. Texans, you know, pretty good, and then struggled a little bit. You know, C.J. Stroud in his sophomore year, and then with the Indianapolis Colts, they got to be able to figure out, you know, is AR the guy? And if he's not, you got to be able to move forward and figure out, you know, what you want to do with this team. And again, AFC South seems like, you know, even though the Texans on paper look like they might be the best team, they're not going to win the division every year. So. Paul of the Fiver, thank you so much. Stacks, a little bit of racks, and a Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you guys very, very much. Let's go. And then I had to hit you with the Cam Ward and the Ashton Genty thumb. I hope you guys like it. Lambeau background, big draft logo. Didn't want to put myself on there, you know, and I tried getting a Travis Hunter, you know, pick, because I thought that would be cool to have on there, but every time I tried to do one, it didn't come up to my standards, so I just had to pivot and go Cam Ward and Genty. So Titans on the clock, but we already know it's Cam Ward. It's pretty much every other pick after one. We'll see what kind of madness we're going to get. And we're going to be here for the next 4 hours. We won't be done until 9 Pacific. If you're in the Midwest, it'll be 11, and East Coast, it'll be midnight. So appreciate all the love and the support by all of y'all. And again, we'll figure out. And there is going to be some quality pieces, you know, in rounds 2 and rounds 3 tomorrow. Starts a little early at 4 Pacific, so haven't really decided yet where we're going to go. You know, if we're going to do rounds 2 and 3, and then I'll just, you know, kind of keep updates with the Mariners if when they start a couple hours later, or if we end up doing the Mariner stream, and then I just end up kind of watching, you know, rounds 2 and 3 ahead of time. Will Levis was the worst quarterback in the NFL, said Hugh Millen, huh? What do you think about that statement request? You think that's true or not? Worst starter or worst quarterback overall? Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think you and me will agree, reflect, you know, even though we both live in the Pacific Northwest, Even though I'm not a Seahawks fan, I keep tabs with everything that they do because I live here in Oregon. And, they're the closest thing here, but I always keep tabs with everything, Raiders, Chargers, Niners, Hawks, because they're close to Oregon. And, Seattle, again, people want to point the blame at Pete. And, a lot of times there was some issues, as we got a little bit further. But let's be real. Schneider should have been fired a long, long time ago. And if you don't have the proper evaluators, it doesn't matter, who the GM, head coach, owner is. You're going to make the wrong pick most of the time. And, the team is going to look a lot different, moving forward. And, I wish the best of luck for anyone that is a Hawk fan, but it's going to be a long fucking year. And it may be a few years before they get back to being in the playoffs. Depending on what happens in this draft, as well as free agency in the next few years. And I do think that a lot of those fans that talk shit about Geno and Lockett and DK, in a few games, they're going to be wishing that those guys were back, especially if Darnold starts seeing ghosts. I wish the best of luck. But again, it's not only picking O-line, but it's like who you pick, and they definitely have overlooked some good players like me and Reflect have gone over. Could have had Cream Humphreys, from the Chiefs. In that draft, there's a lot of guys that could have made more of an impact on that line. And a lot of times they would just ignore the position for years, which made you kind of scratch your head. It should have been investing in it, right after that last Super Bowl with the Legion of Boom and Marshawn Lynch. And they didn't. And it ended up coming back to bite them hard. And then when they finally did go for some linemen, a lot of them were the wrong guys. Or they were injury prone. So, injuries happen to everyone. But again, luckily for me, in the Tampa Bay organization, I got great ownership. I got a great GM in Jason Licht, one of the top 2 in the NFL. Obviously, we know Howie Roseman on the Eagles and what they're doing over there with Sirianni. They hit on their picks. I hit on mine. We maximize every single individual on the team. And, I kind of feel for some of those other teams that don't have those right pieces at the top because, those are really, really important. Like for me, I would rather have elite owner, elite GM, elite head coach, elite coordinators rather than elite players. And I know that's kind of a crazy thing to say, but it's true because if you end up having elite at the top, those players that they pick will turn into good and elite players. They're not going to miss too often. And, I'm very confident in what we're going to be able to do, and we'll see if we can end up winning the division again. And who knows, before Baker Mayfield's career is over in Tampa, maybe, just maybe, we can make one NFC championship game, appearance, and maybe win a couple playoff games. And it's hard to be able to fill in the shoes of Tom Brady, but Baker has done it. He's proven the naysayers wrong, and it's probably one of the guys that initially was considered a flop, in Cleveland, and then having to go to Carolina, then the Rams with McVay giving him a shot, and then finally on his 4th team, finding a true home, possibly for life. And we are very happy in Tampa, as well as Tampa fans, with Baker Mayfield. That is a good question on who trades up first. People could be looking at trading up to 2 if they want Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, and those are 2 of the top 4 in the first round. So, we'll see. But again, there's a lot of other guys that I'm kind of excited about. Genty, I'm really excited about Tyler Warren, tight end. And, there's a few others that, should really pop, as we get further into the mid and lower end of the draft. That is big facts. Will Campbell will be nice. Thanks. Mason Graham, someone to look at there at Michigan. Giants aren't dumb enough to take Genty. I mean, again, it would give them like a Saquon Barkley type, but their fucking offensive line is some shit, so, and we know, obviously blocking ability, like me and Reflect looked into, obviously Genty could be a better blocker, not the greatest, but his vision is, pretty damn good, and again, you don't put up Barry Sanders type of numbers, unless you have a certain type of skill set. But a lot of talk, about a lot of potential, teams trading up. But remember, in years past, we've seen a bunch of this, and then sometimes we have 0 trades in the first round. So sometimes it's just like a lot of hype, but then it ends up leading kind of to nothing. So But one thing is for sure, we're going to hear Cam Ward's name here in just a moment. And again, there's really good value in the second round and the third round, especially in the fourth and the fifth round in this draft. So again, some guys will slide from the bottom of the first, and those teams that have the first 10 picks in the second might end up getting a guy that could have been like the 20th pick overall. So again, there will be some character issues for certain guys that will slide a little bit. But again, talent-wise, lots of talent, even though some of the positions are a little raw, like quarterback, but it's going to make up for it for like running back, as well as offensive line, defense in general. And then the wide receivers and running back should be able to put on a show, quite a few decent players in those skill positions as well. And we're going to be getting Goodell coming out, and they're going to be saying Cam Ward. But again, if you don't have the right coach, right coordinators, right supporting cast, even though they got Tyler Lockett last night, this could still be a failure for the Titans. And there's Cam Ward right off the board. No surprise there. And again, to go to a very low school and make a name for himself at Washington State, and then to go to Miami to play under Mario Cristobal, the former Oregon Duck coach, balled out. Their defense was ass. They were terrible at defense. But offensively, they were really fun to watch. It would have been nice to see them in the college football playoff, but they didn't get the nod. And again, one thing about Cam Ward, that should be interesting when you look at it, as a leader, someone that's coachable, and also I always look to be able to see if any of the players have a military background, like if their dad or their mom or their grandma or grandpa, aunt, uncle, because a lot of them, if they end up having a military background with someone in the family, usually that's a good sign, for discipline and being able to understand what they need to do to be able to succeed. So we will see how it goes. Natman in the building, what's good? Finley in the building, what's good? Wow, Jags trading up. So if the Jags are trading up, this will be interesting to see where they go. Do you want to go Genty? Do you want to go Travis Hunter? Or do you want to go Abdul Carter? It has to be one of those three players. And again, I don't think it would be smart to trade all the way up for Genty. The running back class with Scattaboo and a lot of others, they may not be as good as Genty, but maybe not that far off, so to speak, you would think. But we will see here. Who do the Jags have their eye on? Is it Travis Hunter? Are they're trading away the farm to get in this number 2 spot. But again, they'll have their choice between Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Genty. I would assume it will be one of those three players. If I had to take a guess on who this is going to be, I'm going to go Travis Hunter. Again, I feel like they want a guy that can be a splash guy in the organization that can play wide receiver and corner. So if this is me, Abdul Carter doesn't seem like, as far as like my ESP is concerned. And then with Genty, that could be a possibility. But do you really want to trade all the way up to 2 for him? That's a little unheard of. But again, this is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They haven't really been relevant since Blake Bortles, when they had the team with Leonard Fournette and, Bouye and Jalen Ramsey and Calais Campbell, when they were, a half away from beating the Patriots and making it to the Super Bowl. That's really the last time that the Jacksonville Jags were, quote unquote, relevant. So as far as swagger and as far as vibe and as the youngins would say, Riz, this has got to be Travis Hunter. If I had to put money on it, that's where I'm going. We'll see if I'm right. And obviously, Liam Cohen, the former offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Bucks. And again, they're going to use him as a corner and a wide receiver, use his speed. And obviously, Travis Hunter on the Jags is more swaggy than him on the Browns, or on the Giants. So, again, he's in Florida, warm weather. He's going to look fire in the jersey and the teal. he's going to look good in the jersey. So again, if Jacksonville thought that this was the one, again, they ended up giving up quite a bit. But if that's the guy that you believe in, that could be a superstar for your team to get others to come to your team in the future and maybe try to save Liam Cohen's job, so to speak, even though we don't really think that Trevor Lawrence may be the guy long term. But look at this. Second overall pick, 4th round pick, 5th round pick. Browns received the 5th pick, a 2nd and a 4th, and then a 1st round pick next year. Holy hell. But also, too, the Browns have a history of not picking the right guy. So even though they get these extra picks, they haven't really proven that they can pick the right guy, consistently year in and year out, right? So this will be Travis Hunter 100%. I would be shocked as hell if it's not, But again, he's going to look damn good in that teal. And it's like, just close your eyes and just picture Travis Hunter, in the Browns, in the Giants, or in the Jags now. And you can visually see it. I know I'm not the only one. You guys can see it too. And again, a lot of these teams at the top are not very good, but we'll see where it goes. But you also have to realize also that Travis Hunter, this is a one of one. We're probably not going to see another player like Travis Hunter for another 10 to 20 years. That's going to be this athletic, that is this gifted, that can play on both sides of the ball. It's not like every year we get a guy that is like a Travis Hunter. So, again, they did give up a lot, but remember, it's not just what you get in return, it's who you select, with the picks that you get. And since Cleveland has got a shitty track record, it's a lot to give up. But again, if Jacksonville feels this is the right move for them, then this is where they're going to go. And a lot of these head coaches, they don't make it, past year 2 or year 3. So if this is what Liam Cohen thinks that will help him save his job, then that's where they're going to go. Yeah, they're going Travis Hunter, 100%. The cons, they're in there. The owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars and AEW. So they have plenty of money to spend. And again, if they want to put butts in the seats, that can be a guy that will help sell tickets for sure. And again, even if the Jags have a few kind of rough years, being able to buy the, jersey of Travis Hunter, being able to, get the autographed cards, being able to, have that vibe and that aura. Not everyone's got the aura and the vibe. Like Travis Hunter has the aura and the vibe. He lives up to it. Shedeur Sanders thinks he has the aura and the vibe because his dad is Dion, but he ain't Travis Hunter. That's the difference, And one guy's going to pan out and the other guy will wait and see. And here we go. They got Calais Campbell there on stage.
Oh my God.
Judah in the building. What's good? Eric Armstead, I was about to say. Go Ducks. I had to open up my screen. I had it too small. I was looking from far away. I had to just expand it. I was like, that's not Calais Campbell. I got to open my screens up bigger here. Hold on, give me a second. All right, here we go. Now I got my screens bigger. Much better. Nice job, Armstead. Always cool when you can get a Walter Payton Man of the Year award. That's what happens when you have your screens too small, and I'm looking, I'm like, who is that? Obviously, at first glance, as I looked in the corner, I was like, is that him? No. But now I got my screens all good, so that shouldn't happen again. He said Solomon Thomas. There we go. My ESP. There we go. Travis Hunter fits the mold of the Jaguars and their swagger. You know, he'll look good in that black and that teal. But again, you know, these type of players that are like that, Heisman winner, corner, and wide receiver, you're probably not going to see another one like this for another 10 or 20 years. So, again, it was a lot to give up. But, again, the Browns are kind of stupid when they pick. So they don't really hit on a lot of their guys. I mean, you know, they've had Myles Garrett and a few others, but I'm not mad at it. I would rather see Travis Hunter on the Jags than the Browns or the Giants, if I'm being honest. So, you know, I think it's going to give us more of a reason to tune into Jags games. So, and Hayes Hybrid says Travis from Florida as well. Now, the real question is how many snaps is he going to play on defense and how many snaps is he going to play on offense? Definitely excited to go number 2 overall. You know, and he's a guy that's going to get a lot of endorsements. He could end up getting his own shoe. You know, there's not very many guys in this draft that you could actually, you know, say that are marketable, like really fucking marketable. And you could argue that Travis Hunter might be the most marketable guy in the whole entire draft. So, you know, again, he's got the speed, he's got the hands. You know, the only thing I worry about him is injuries, especially if you're going to be playing wide receiver and corner. But we could see some bubble screens, some, you know, jet sweeps, some reverses, and obviously some big plays, you know, with some big picks in the red zone, some pick sixes, and a lot of breakups as well. Yeah, and Brian Thomas Jr. is a stud, 100%. You know, that guy, that's a nice little combo. Now, obviously, we're not really sure about Trevor Lawrence. You know, again, when you're the first pick in the draft, you would have assumed that if he was going to make it, he would have already been a top 10 pick by now. But right now, he's a top 16 player, not a top 10 quarterback. So we'll see if Trevor can ever figure it out. But at some point, you're going to have to move on from him. And we'll see where it goes here at pick number 3, you know, with the Giants if someone trades up. But this should be Abdul Carter, 100%. Odin in the building. What's good? Abdul Carter on the edge with Kayvon Thibodeau. You know, that could be something. Obviously, we know New York has so many fucking holes, you know, but again, you got to make sure you're grabbing players that could be Pro Bowl, All Pro, you know, and someone that can help you win. And Thibodeau and Carter, you know, on the edges would be 2 of the better edges, you know, together if they can stay healthy. As we see Travis Hunter here, the Jaguar hat seems like it fits him nicely. And again, you know, he's going to be, I would rather see him there, you know, on, you know, the Jags than on the Browns or the Giants or the Pats. You know, if we're looking at the teams in the first 5 picks, you know, this is exactly, and the Titans at the first pick, you know, this is the best spot out of the first 5 picks. No question, 100%. Like, even if you feel that Carter, you know, is someone that you don't need, and then maybe Campbell would be more instrumental for the Giants' offensive line, can you really pass on Carter if he's sitting there? You know, this guy could be, you know, the next, like, Bosa. You know, he could end up being one of those, you know, impact guys. So I'm not sure if you can pass on Carter if you're sitting there as the Giants right here. It's like you almost have to take him. Because, I mean, if you don't take him, then the Patriots are going to take him, you know. Patriots 100% will take Abdul Carter if you're dumb enough to let him slide. So we'll see where it goes. And again, there's the offensive line, in this draft, there's quite a few pieces, and Will Campbell is good. Don't get me wrong, but Abdul Carter has a higher ceiling. So. But I'll tell you what, Abdul Carter would look good in the Giant or Patriot uniform, and the Patriots are known for, snagging good defensive players. But they already had Kayvon Thibodeau. You might as well pop it up, and, you're going to go Abdul Carter 100%. There it is, Abdul Carter, baby. You can't pass on that. Now you have Thibodeau and Carter together. To be exciting. I mean, the team still is terrible, but a lot of bling there. Bling, bling. And now with the Patriots at 4, they should take Will Campbell. And I know that might not be the sexiest thing for Judah or for Britt or for Patriot fans, but again, they got to upgrade that left tackle position going into year 2 for Drake May. And this is the guy, 100%. And it could be a long-term starter, not a guy that's kind of, he might make it, he might not. No, this solidifies the position. He's a stud out of LSU. And again, this should be a 100% pick, Will Campbell at number 4. Patriots are going to not trade down, especially when they need a player like this. The first, offensive lineman off the board, they have their pick out of any guard or tackle, and obviously tackle is their need. You have to protect Drake May. So, this is 100% going to be Will Campbell. So far, we've pretty much hit on every pick so far. But again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to kind of figure out everything. Well, that guy loves it. Thibodeau and Carter, that nice little edges for both there. There'll be some sack lunches to be had for the Giants. Too bad their offensive line is fucking terrible, and their offense is not good either, but at least you can build on that side of the ball. Yeah, and again, with Vrabel in there, they understand the need at that particular position. Like Kelvin Banks, from Texas is pretty good too. Memphis, from Missouri, Missouri, he's pretty good as well. So there's a few others, but again, if you had to choose one, Campbell is, a little bit higher than the others. So. All right, we need 5 more likes to get to 20. If you're in the room and haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Now we're at 16. Thank you so much. Only 4 more to go to get to 20. Let's go, baby. And I'm glad I actually have a voice. I was a little worried that my voice was going to be gone, but... Giants got the Micah Parsons. Yes, they did. Yeah, I agree, Sarah. I tried to, tap in as many games as I possibly can, during the college football season, not just, doing the duck stream. I try to watch about 3 to 4 games, every weekend, in entirety. And then obviously a lot of highlight clips and keeping up with everything on socials as well. And this should be Will Campbell here in just a moment. Well, we got our first blockbuster trade with the Jags trading up, but I know it was a lot to give up for, but again, who knows how long Liam Cohen is going to have that job. He might get fired in, year 2 or year 3. So, regardless, at least they end up having a guy that will bring in, tickets. And if that was the guy that they wanted, then, again, Hunter was going to go 2 or 3. So there was no way that Hunter was going to drop to 5. So sometimes you end up having to make a ballsy move. And again, I think if they would have traded to some other team that actually would hit on their picks, it would have been a little bit more detrimental, but again, Cleveland is probably one of the worst teams at drafting, typically, year in and year out. So I'm actually not really mad with it. It was a lot to give up, but, you get your guy. So. And plus, for us fans, it's going to be nicer to see him in Jacksonville, rather than seeing him in, even though he didn't have a chance to go to Tennessee, but him at Tennessee or Cleveland or the Giants or New England, that is definitely the best destination out of the 5. And then pretty soon we'll be getting Kelvin Banks off the board, right? Armand Membu will be off the board. Mason Graham, definitely excited to see where he goes. Michael Williams, right? And then obviously, I'm hoping Tyler Warren ends up going to your Colts. That would be great. Cole with $1. Appreciate you. Stacks on stacks, racks on racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. And then between Reflect, Sarah, Captain, Cole, and Cole, if there's anything that you want me to be able to showcase or photos, let me know. Two separate windows on a laptop. You should be able to go to the plus sign, right? And if you go to the plus sign at the top of your screen, right, that should open up another window. And then you should be able to drag them and separate them. Or you could do that too, right click, if you're on the Chrome. There we go, Will Campbell. Well, we've been spot on, so haven't got any picks wrong yet. Well, Liam Cohen obviously is an offensive guru, so obviously he'd love to be able to use that as a weapon with Brian Thomas Jr. And at corner they're going to need help there because it's a passing lead. So I mean, I would assume. I mean, it's tough because, again, he's good on both sides of the ball. But, maybe down the road he plays a little bit more heavily offensively, because, again, he probably would be more of an impact player offensively if they got him the ball often. If they were only going to use him situationally, then he'd be a more of a, probably a better fit at this corner. But again, depending on how much time he gets offensively will determine on, if he ends up shifting to an offensive player, rather than a defensive player. But I'm not sure if you're ever going to see him go just to one side. He wants to play both, And again, if you just start playing him on one side, then he might get pouty. That might cause problems. So we'll see. But I think that if they gave him the same amount of reps, like, you're playing the whole game, he would make more of an impact, I think, as a receiver, based off his speed, even though I do think he's a good corner, but again, he would be able to get touchdowns on the board for Jacksonville, and they have a hard time doing that with Trevor Lawrence. All right, Cleveland pick is in. And where do you go now for Cleveland? Because obviously they probably originally were like, well, we want Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, but if we're going to get more picks, let's see where we go. Where would you go here? I mean, picking Genty at 5 is too high. So I don't know if that, obviously we know Nick Chubb and a lot of the running backs they've had some injuries there, but I don't know, man. I don't think I would go that route. But again, this is the Cleveland Browns, and a lot of times they don't really make the right decisions very often. So. Yeah, if I had my choice, I think I would probably go Mason Graham. That's probably where I would go as well, Sarah, but I don't know if that's what they're looking at, if they were sold on him as their guy. But we will find out here in a moment. But again, we'll see if they want to go, offense or if they want to go defense, O-line or D-line. Where are they going to go? Browns pick is in. And you got to think they passed on Travis Hunter and on Abdul Carter, and those are probably 2 of the top 4 in the first round. So you better make sure you hit this pick, and it's a good one. I feel if you... it's like if you're going to pass on those 2 guys, you better make sure you know what you're doing. But the Cleveland Browns typically don't know what they're doing. See, that's the thing.
Oh my gosh.
They probably miss on more picks in their draft than any team in recent memory. So. And how often, are the Browns going to be like, well, we're going to pass on Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. Those guys could be Pro Bowl, All-Pro, or maybe let's say potentially Hall of Fame, maybe one day, maybe not. And then they grab some offensive lineman, which may or may not work out for them. It kind of makes you wonder here. But we're probably going O-line or D-line. That would be the route that I would assume they would go. But you've definitely left those 2 guys on the board, and we'll see if it comes back to bite them. And there it is, Mason Graham. That actually is a good pick. Because again, don't go for one of these other offensive linemen if Campbell's off the board. And I know the Raiders, I know that you wanted that reflect, but you know, if that was a guy that was one of their top 2 pieces or top 3, right? So now he can play with Myles Garrett. And you know, if you're looking at like the top-heavy end of the draft, that's where I would have gone. You don't want to go for the second best offensive lineman in your first pick or third best. You might as well try to get, you know, the best of the position, you know, and best D tackle arguably is him, right? So now you got Myles Garrett and him together. They pass on Travis Hunter. They pass on Abdul Carter. They go down in the draft and they accumulate a few more picks. And I'm not mad at this pick here. And now with the Raiders, maybe Kelvin Banks Jr. Or it could be Genty, you know, I guess if they wanted to go that route. But again, you know, Colton Miller is looking for a new contract. So Banks gives the Raiders the insurance at left tackle. So we'll see where it goes. It's like, where do you go? Genty or Banks Jr.?
Oh my gosh.
And the only reason that you wouldn't go offensive lineman is, you know, Genty, you know, is there. So it's like, who do you feel that's going to be better for you, Genty or Banks Jr.? And if you're the Raiders and you got Chip Kelly and you got Pete Carroll, it would be hard for them to pass on Genty. I would assume they'll pick Genty here. Not to say that Kelvin Banks Jr. isn't good, but it's just like Genty's sitting there. Can you really pass on him? Because if you don't pick him here, someone else is going to. So, and he would look good in a Raider uniform. Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly. Right? And we saw how Henderson and a lot of the other running backs were used for the Buckeyes. And even though they do need offensive linemen, they can pick offensive linemen with their next pick, the Raiders. So this has got to be Genty. He'd look good in a Raider uniform, too. But there's still, you know, some quality pieces on, you know, Banks, you know, from Texas, the offensive tackle. Membu, offensive tackle from Missouri. Michael Williams, the edge from Georgia. Tyler Warren, a few picks down the ladder. McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, a few picks, a little bit later. So, and again, they need offensive line bad. They need it, right? But again, you can't let a guy like Genty go if you're the Raiders here, especially if he turns into the next Saquon Barkley. You don't want to be that team that passed on him. And again, the offensive line needs work. But Geno and Genty together, that's kind of sexy, especially with Pete and Chip, you know, working together. Kind of gives you like those Marcus Allen, you know, Raiders, Bo Jackson vibes. And, you know, having that tradition of a good running back. They had Josh Jacobs for years, and it's time to bring in another running back. Got to be Genty. I'd be shocked if it's not. And there it is. It's Genty. All right, we're 100% so far on this draft for the most part. And there it is. You just can't pass a player like that. There's other names that are available, but one guy could be a superstar. And there it is. That is a good pick. I mean, still, he needs to improve on his blocking, but his vision is unmatched. And, again, it gives them a Josh Jacobs type of player at running back. Raider fans will not be complaining about that. And Genty would have been good in a Jacksonville uniform, but even better with the Raiders. Now you just got to keep beefing up that O-line. He's going to be fun to watch, and again, I'm going to go out of my way to watch a lot of Raiders games. And then now we got the Jets up next, and they're going to be more than likely looking at an offensive lineman, I would assume. Yep. I'm excited, man. I kind of have a feeling you're going to have a lot of, maybe disgruntled Seahawks fans that will start paying attention a little bit more to the Raiders, or if you are a Husky fan like you and Reflect, paying attention more to like the Falcons. Not saying, a lot of Hawk fans are going to abandon their team, but there's going to be a few other teams that are, the trajectory is going up rather than going down. And Genty's going to be thrilled. All right, Jets on the clock. Will they go Membu? They're from Missouri, the offensive tackle. Obviously, Kelvin Banks is, he'll be another individual that will be waiting in the wings and, getting ready to get drafted. Yeah, but who cares? Who cares? Look at the stats that he put up. He put up Barry Sanders type of stats. When's the last time a running back had that type of vision and, put up those stats? His yak yards were better than the number 2 or number 3 guy. So, again, this is the closest thing to like a Saquon Barkley type, of player, or a Barry Sanders-ish type of player that we've seen in a long time. So, yeah, fumbles are going to happen. But, again, his vision, is something that, a patient runner, and again, you remember, watching Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley, even though those guys didn't have long careers, you got to be able to hit the hole and see the hole. And, again, you hope, for less fumbles, but, shit happens. But overall, he had an amazing year, and it's going to be a good fit for the Raiders. Yeah, and I'd be shocked if this isn't Membu for the Jets. Yeah, is that for what, Genty in his first 2 seasons, right? So. Genty has a family and a military background, so they had to move, like overseas and whatnot. So anytime you end up having those types of things, smart kid, definitely coachable. And then if you have a military background with your dad or mom or grandma or grandpa, that definitely is a plus. Again, he's going to work hard. And, again, you're going to get Josh Jacobs type of production, maybe even better. But I'm telling you, no Raider fan is going to be mad about that pick. They're going to love that shit. Probably the happiest they've been with that pick, with all things considered. So. Offensive line, much more important. Obviously Tyler Warren, will be going somewhere probably in the next, 5 to 6 picks, you would assume. But, they need offensive line to make sure they can get that final piece since they've been beefing that up in the last few years. So. But we'll see.
Oh my God.
I'm actually hoping that Tyler Warren goes to the Colts for Sarah. They need a tight end. Obviously they need a lot more than just a tight end, but that would be bringing in a Dallas Clark type of individual, a guy that could be a Brock Bowers, a Sam Laporta type. But you got to figure out the quarterback though, because AR may not be it. So you got to be able to figure that out here in the next couple years. That way that pick doesn't get wasted. Debating Manning. Well, we're already 1 hour in, 7 picks in, 3 hours to go. One big blockbuster trade for Travis Hunter, going 2 to the Jags, and we've been pretty spot on almost every pick after that. Nothing has really went through, our minds at this point. We haven't really been bamboozled yet. But it will get a little bit tougher as we go further down. And there we go, Membu, number 7 pick off the board. There he is. That's what we figured. We've been 100% so far. But now you got the Carolina Panthers, and I know that they were targeting Mason Graham, but since he's now off the board, what direction does Carolina go? But Membu is off the board. No surprise there. Fills in that spot. And again, head coach Aaron Glenn, they'll slide him into the right tackle spot for the final piece of that offensive line overhaul that they've been building for the last couple years. See, now this is where it gets interesting here for Carolina, because again, Mason Graham was, one of the main guys that they were looking at. Where do you go if you're the Carolina Panthers? This will be potentially the first pick that people get wrong. But I feel that if you're smart and you're Carolina, you go defense. So you might have to pivot from D tackle to like an edge, or something of that nature, but we will see. And if Carolina goes for an offensive player, then obviously it'll kind of flip the script. Obviously, they need offensive line, defensive line. I mean, they need fucking everything. But I know Carolina was very, very heavy on Mason Graham, and he's not there now, so. That's who you want, Finley, as a Panther fan? That's a little high for the pick for those guys. McMillan is somewhere between, you would think 12 to 16. And Walker is usually going to be, you would think, 15 to maybe 18, a little bit lower. So I don't know. Do you really want to pick a guy that maybe would be picked 15th to 18th, or a guy that would be picked 12th to 16th this high? I mean, we're talking about the 8th pick in the draft. Do you want to overstep and pick a guy that, might not be picked 8 picks after this pick? I mean, that's a risk. But, both of those guys that you're mentioning are normally somewhere between 12 and 18. But again, if that's the guy that you want and Mason Graham is off the board, then you got to do what you got to do, right? You need your Julius Peppers. You need to be able to, beef up on that side. The thing about McMillan, I feel that he might be a bust because he's super athletic, but he doesn't like to watch tape. I don't think he really loves football, so it's like you have this athletic guy that might have character issues, that doesn't really want to work hard and just wants everything to be given to him. I wouldn't draft a player like that. I wouldn't want him on Tampa, a player like that who's a me player and doesn't want to work hard, and that's kind of the vibe that I get from him. I feel like he's the biggest wild card. He could be like a George Pickens, where he's really good and he's got hands and he's athletic. But what other bullshit do you have to deal with a player like that? So if it's me, I say thumbs down to McMillan. I don't think that he's, to me, like I said, I think he's a good athlete. But as far as a person, I'm not on board. To me, I've watched a bunch of interviews of him. Doesn't like to watch tape. I don't think he really loves football. He's just one of those guys that's a good football player, but he's not in love with football. So that's a big red flag for me. So. But again, some of y'all watched him play, some of y'all didn't, and some of y'all have watched the interviews and some of y'all haven't. So but that's my 2 cents, based on what I've seen from him. But I wouldn't draft him. But out of all the wide receivers, he's a big character red flag to me. Well, you better hope so, Matt, if he ends up being a Bronco. But I wouldn't pick him. I mean, unless you want to have a headache on your team. Shadur Sanders, Tyler Warren, Jalen Walker, Will Johnson, and Colston Loveland. There's one guy out of those 5 that doesn't belong. Can you guess who it is? And he's openly said it too, on film. That again, he doesn't like to, work hard, watch film, and, to me that if you're not willing to watch film and put in that extra work, you don't love football. You're just a great athlete. And again, it's like George Pickens. I mean, do you want a George Pickens kind of player? I mean, a lot of people do. But if you want a guy that's going to get flags and be pouty, but every once in a while he'll get a touchdown for your team, then it works for you. But for me, and the way that I build my roster, the way that I would want it, no matter how athletic he is, like a George Pickens, it's a big no for me. And there he is. Good luck. Good luck with that. I wouldn't pick that player. So you're getting a player, but good luck with it. I feel it's going to be a George Pickens headache. Me player, not team player. You'll see. Hope it works out for you, Finley. There's a difference between being a diva receiver and a guy that works hard and a guy that doesn't. You know. All right, Saints. What you gonna do, Amber? What is this? Sugar Sanders? You really gonna pick him at 9? Britt in the building, conveniently back after we end up winning the series. The Seattle Mariners beating the Red Sox 2 games out of 3. You showed up for the game that you won, and then the other 2 that you lost, both Sox Baldy. How are you doing today, Brett? Are you happy with your pick? A lot of people are going to be mad if this ends up being Shedeur Sanders, even though some people think that it's going to work. I mean, everyone was already against Carr right from the very beginning. You know, people thought, we can throw anybody in there and he'll be better than Carr. But then you started to realize that the others on the team, can't do it either. So. And no one is going to deny the fact that the guy is an athletic freak, like a George Pickens. He is an athlete. There's no doubt about that. But I'm concerned, about his work ethic, and actual passion for the game. And it's always a red flag to me when someone says they don't want to work hard and they don't want to watch film. It's like, oh, I just got paid. I'm going to take plays off. I'll do it when I want to do it, And again, you might be able to get some big touchdowns out of him. But what about consistency, taking plays off, and arguing with the coaches and the teammates, But I'll tell you what, if I was in this position, no way in hell I would draft a player like that. So I hope it works out for you, Finley. You're in my division, but don't be surprised if it ends up being George Pickens 2.0, where it's an incredible athlete, but it never really fully pans out to what you think it's going to be. I hope he changes his attitude. I really, really do. I hope that's not a wasted pick for you because I want you guys to get better. I don't want the Panthers to be sitting, at the bottom of the division forever. I want you guys to slowly creep up so that way we can have a competition, with the Panthers and the Falcons and the Saints and the Bucks. Saints have a lot of holes. Where are we going here? Michael Williams, edge from Georgia. Is this where we're going? There's all the talk, but no matter what the fans want, a lot of times the Saints organization does like the complete opposite. They don't really take a lot of what, the media says or what the fans want. They don't always go for guys from LSU or, the popular guys. So. Now in Saints, who's it going to be? It'd be stupid to take Shedeur Sanders here. And the Saints pick is in. They go Kelvin Banks because he was just sitting there still on the board. They thought he'd be off the board at like 5 or 6. Offensive tackle from Texas. What do you think about that? You like that pick? I think most Saints fans, they might not be too thrilled, but at least it's not Shadur Sanders. Now we got the Bears on the clock. Now you just got to hope right here, Sarah, that the Bears don't take Tyler Warren because they might be looking at him here. Ben Johnson, he's looking for that Sam Laporta. They have Cole Kmet, but again, you can run double tight end sets. DJ Moore, Roma Dunzier. This could definitely be Tyler Warren, so you better pray and pray hard that they pass and choose someone else. You may not know a whole lot about the player, but you can go and do your research there. Offensive tackle from Texas. Primarily plays left tackle. Yeah, and Ramchek retired, so. So Banks is the first player to slide a few picks, and then, maybe a team that didn't think that he would be there, they scoop him up. And now we're at pick number 10. We'll see where we go now. No, not happening. We got quite a few more picks before Tampa picks, and we already have Cade Otton. We don't need him. If we're going to pick a player, there's a lot more individuals that we need than that. No chance in hell that happens. 0. We need defense. Anytime you're looking at the squad, it's defense, linebacking core, obviously DN, D tackle, linebacking core, corner, safety, offensive line. Before you start thinking about any, tight end or wide receiver, we already got Cade Otton. Pauline Wolf. She might be the best in the business, 150%. Colleen Wolf, number 1. Best personality for the NFL, hands down. May 14th. Pick is in for the Bears. If Tyler Warren is there, it would be pretty smart to grab him. I mean, even if you have Cole Kmet, but again, it could be a Sam Laporta, Brock Bowers type. We saw how amazing he was at Penn State. Bluebirds are out. Classy Packer fan, as usual. I mean, they don't really need Tyler Warren. It's just kind of like, he's there. Sometimes it's hard to pass up on a guy when he's there, just like with the Aretas and Genti. You really want to pass on a guy that you really like, sometimes you just got to grab him.
Oh my gosh.
Steve Mongo McMichael. Get it right, Commish. Well, yeah, the Colts will take him if he doesn't get picked here. That's this is the team that you have to worry about. And Colston Loveland off the board. Interesting. Well, your Tyler Warren pick should still be there for you. You only got to worry about 1, 2, 3 more teams, and they're not going to pick tight end. So, it looks like you're going to end up getting the player that you want. That's exciting. Niners on the clock. Yeah, they do have Cole Kmet though still, so not really a position that you need, but it would have been like a luxury, but then to go Loveland, over Warren, it seems a little crazy, right? You're going to go for Loveland, tight end from Michigan over Warren, but again, the Bears are not very smart, right? And they haven't really proven that they know how to draft and they know how to build a team the right way. So, if they think that Loveland is better for their system, for Caleb Williams, so be it. But all of us know that that was an incredible big mistake. But again, some people know how to evaluate talent and some are stupid. So, the Bears are kind of like the Browns. They continue to fuck up over and over and over. So, yeah, that's what happens when you have too many guys in the war room. Like, who in their goddamn right mind would pick Loveland over Warren? You got to be a fucking idiot. Like, it's one thing if, Loveland played a different position, offensive line, like protect Caleb, fine, okay? But then to actually pick another tight end over Warren? Jesus Christ. Thank God I'm not a Bears fan. My goodness. That one would have made me pull my fucking hair out if I had any. He's just sitting there, beast mode, waiting to get picked, and then you go for another tight end over Warren? You crazy? Thank God I'm not a Bears fan. But again, Bears and Browns and certain organizations, they're fucking stupid, and they do fucking stupid things over and over and over again. They don't fucking learn. Doesn't matter if they bring in a new coach or a new GM, they just continue to fuck up left and right. Dumb dogs. Holy fuck. And, let's pray that it works out for this kid, Loveland, but I wouldn't want to be on the Bears. I wouldn't want to be on the fucking Browns. And the Colts won't be dumb enough to do what obviously the Bears did. And, again, you'll get the next Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta, and realistically, Loveland will probably get hurt or he'll end up being a bust. You got to be super excited now, Sarah. to actually get one of like the main 4 guys in this draft that that are going to pan out no matter what team they go on, even with a shaky AR, because he's not going to be the guy long term. But even if you have to use him short term, Warren can help you win. That is if he can actually get him the ball, right? But the Niners and the Cowboys and the Dolphins are not going to pick a tight end, so you'll be good. But you do have to worry about the Broncos, because the Broncos may do it, So hopefully, for your sake, that Matt's Broncos don't take them 1 pick before you. Otherwise, you might have to make a trade and trade up for a spot and give away a draft pick, but we'll see. Hi, Troy. Enough of Troy. Troy making everyone in the room dumber. Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. Do they go that route? I don't know, but it's a possibility. Niners always pick kind of like randos, sometimes. So you never know what you're going to get with them. Same thing with like New England. Sometimes you end up getting guys from like really, really small schools, North Dakota State, South Dakota, and there's like all these other players that are available. But if they think that that's the guy, we'll see. Reflect with a 5er. Stacks, racks with some jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. Oh, yeah, the Dolphins with 13. We'll see if the Broncos trade up or if a team trades up. But I hope you get Tyler Warren for the Colts. I think that would be good, considering all the other shit that's been going on with that organization. And obviously we know Daniel Jones and AR got like 2 of the lowest completion percentages in the NFL. Those guys aren't it. But, at least if you can get your starting tight end for the next 5 to 10 years, that would be huge. I'm rooting for you, Sarah. He would look damn good in the uniform, too. Similar colors to Penn State. It would be a natural transition. And there would be a lot of jerseys sold. All right, where are the Niners going? Are they going to go for a rando like Gray Zabel from North Dakota State? Let's see what the Niners do here. Who is it? Williams, the edge from Georgia. Wow. Michael Williams. Saints could have had him at 9. That's a good pick for the Niners, especially with like the whole Bosa situation and everything else. And remember, they lost Talanoa Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw. So they lost some pieces on the D. So you need to be able to replenish, some of those pieces. So Cowboys on the clock. So that was a good pick for the Niners, considering they lost a couple key pieces already. They got a steal with that pick. They didn't think Michael Williams would still be on the board at 11. So good value pick there. Cowboys on the clock. Well, he was projected to be a top 9 pick, so. And then the Niners were looking at Gray Zabel, an interior offensive lineman from North Dakota State. So, anyway, would you have rather had him, the Niners, pick a no-name guy from North Dakota State or going a guy from Georgia, But that was the guy that they were looking at, so, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you get a guy that could be a good player, from a small school. But again, you get a guy from Georgia that has proven that he is a pretty decent player. And again, no Dre Greenlaw, no Talanoa Hufanga. They still got Fred Warner there in Bosa, but, you know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of makes sense. And Booker off the board. Guard from Bama. All right, Dolphins on the clock. I'm very curious to see if the Broncos are going to trade up at some point. Agreed, Finley. All right, Dolphins on the clock. And, again, the only way that Tyler Warren doesn't go to the Colts is that if the Broncos call the Dolphins and trade up, then they're picking Tyler Warren. But if they don't call, then the Dolphins, pick whoever they pick, and then Farrah gets Tyler Warren. That's the only situation that I can see that, you don't get Tyler Warren, but we'll see. Seven more likes to get to 30. 6 more likes to get to 30. All right, where are the Dolphins going to go? I know they like Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. No Javon Holland, so and on the verge of parting with Ramsey. And Malachi Starks can play nickel or safety, but I'm not sure if you would want to pick him that high. He's more of a lower end pick. Do you really want to pick him that high? It would definitely be like 5 to 10 picks, maybe too soon, but he would be a good fit for the Dolphins considering what they need and what they lost. You know what I'm saying? But again, normally I think most people had him slated, probably 18 to 22, somewhere in that range. So this would be a little high. You would be taking him maybe about 5 picks, But again, if that's the guy that you want, then it doesn't really matter. 5 picks this way or that way. You want him, right? Pretty entertaining draft up to this point. Not a whole lot of trades, just the one, explosive one there to get Travis Hunter in Jacksonville. I'm curious to see if we get at least one more. But based on the Dolphins' need, we will see if they pull the trigger and they end up going for a player of this nature. Again, the thing is if you trade down like 7, 8, 9 picks, 10 picks, you could probably still get Starks and then add another pick, but we'll see. No, I think that I would assume that Williams will stay in Bama. I mean, of course, he could go anywhere, the way that there's no loyalty now with coaches or players and people are getting millions of dollars in college. I mean, he could, but I think legacy-wise, I know Bama fans are hoping he stays his whole career, but.
Oh my God.
We got one coming in to Oregon, so we're ready. Pick is in. Who is it? Anybody but Tyler Warren, which they won't go for a tight end here. Really, the only threat is what they would have traded down with Denver, and then Denver maybe would have taken Tyler Warren. But obviously, that didn't happen. I think you're going to be very, very happy here in just a few seconds. Dude, the Bears are so stupid. It's like passing on Brock Bowers. It's like passing on Sam Laporta. Really? Damn right. Beast mode. Going to be one of the best players we've ever seen. Going to be on that like D'Anthony Thomas, LaMichael James level, but even higher, more than likely. And hopefully we have him for his whole career. Hopefully we can get 3 solid years out of him. Could be the guy that leads us to a championship, or at least gets us to a championship game. Could be huge. Dante to DeCorian. Dante Moore throwing passes to DeCorian. Oh, baby. I can't wait. Duck streams are going to be fun this year. I mean, they're fun every year. But yeah. Now, again, if Warren was off the board, fine. But like I said, who in their right goddamn mind had Loveland on the board higher than Tyler Warren? Like maybe the Bears, and that's it. Ben Johnson probably convinced him. He's like, I got this cooking. It's going to be great. Him and Caleb are going to work out fantastic together. Seahawks. Yeah. But remember, Captain, it's not wanting the O-line, but it's also picking the right offensive linemen, which they've proven they haven't been able to do. You know. Well, unfortunately, Matt, you know, they need you know, they probably need 15 Matt Paydens, not just one. So a lot of holes. All right, pick is in here for the Dolphins. Who is it? But I know that they were very high on Malachi Starks because of the whole secondary issue with Javon Holland and Jalen Ramsey. And it's Grant, D-tackle from Michigan. Interesting. That was a pivot move for the Dolphins for sure. And now we're going to get Tyler Warren for the Colts for Sarah. Yeah. Kenneth Grant to the Dolphins. Yeah, and Grant was more of like a late first rounder, early second rounder. So maybe I know some teams were looking at him late. One of their main teams was the Baltimore Ravens at 27. I think that they would have taken him because they were going to be looking for a replacement for Michael Pierce's retirement. But, they snagged him there, and they think that that's the guy. But again, the highest that I saw him was in, 27 to Baltimore. So, we'll see. You could have traded down and accumulated picks and still got him. Hell, you might have been able to get him and Malachi if you would have traded down. I don't know if I agree with that pick, but we'll see. We'll find out. Hopefully it works out. And then for the Colts, this has got to be either Tyler Warren or Shamar Stewart. But do you really take Shamar Stewart, the A&M edge, over Tyler Warren when he's sitting there? You better not. The Shamar Stewart could be similar to the Kwity Paye pick. And then we know how good Latu was. And they lost Dayo Odeyingbo in free agency. So I don't know. I know that they love Shamar Stewart too, but you cannot pass on Tyler Warren. You can't. Dallas Clark, right? We want to make sure we have that solid piece there. Blocker, check down guy, an athlete. Anybody else that you want to chime in for, Sarah, other than those two players that I mentioned that you think the Colts would legitimately possibly take? But those are the ones that when I did my research, those were the ones that I was looking at just based off need and, kind of a similar, selection to the Kwity Paye pick. But again, I just would have a hard time picking him over Warren right here at 14. There it is. You got him. There you go. Tyler Warren. Great job. You didn't fuck it up. You didn't pull a Chicago Bear. Nice job. I'm happy for you. This has probably got to be the happiest pick that you've had in a long time. I mean, obviously the Latu pick was great last year, but back-to-back, that's got to be really exciting. Two monsters, Latu and now Warren in back-to-back years. Now let's just figure out the quarterback. Hell yeah, I'm happy for you. Now Falcons on the clock. Did you let out a hoot and a holler at your house? Did you scream? I would have. Congrats. Tyler Warren, baby. 6'5", 256. I mean, shit, you could put him at fullback and block for a play or two. You know, you could move him around. You can line him up in the slot if you wanted to and have a mismatch against a linebacker. Excited to see what they do. But the main thing is, got to get a quarterback to get him the ball between Daniel Jones and AR. Got to find that next guy. You know, we need to be able to get you an Andrew Luck again. And you're not going to get any complaints from any Colts fans whatsoever with that pick. 0. All right, Falcons on the clock. Congrats. God bless the Bears for being stupid. It'll be hilarious if Warren turns into like a Hall of Fame player. Like, what are the Bears going to say? He didn't fit our scheme. Is that what they're going to say? Oh, my. But look where he can play. Backfield, tight end, center, slot wide receiver, split wide. I mean, quarterback. I mean, it's like a Taysom Hill. And you got to think, Ben Johnson, we thought he was smart, on the Lions, right? He goes to the Bears and then turns into an idiot. It's like that. It's like you're getting a Taysom Hill 2.0 there. But, versatility personified right there. But Ben Johnson, I don't know what happened if he hit his head and hurt himself, but yeah, a long time. Long fucking time. Just like the fucking Cleveland Browns. Dumb shit over and over and over again. Yeah, great blocker too. Agreed. So happy you got him. All right, on the clock are the Falcons, and then we got the Cardinals and the Bengals. And then pretty soon my Bucks, baby. Can't wait to see what we get. I think I might be more happy for Sarah than even my own pick, all things considered. I mean, I really like Genty, going to the Raiders, and then we get Tyler Warren to the Colts. Love it. And I love Travis Hunter going to the Jags. I mean, I got really no complaints for a lot of the big names. So. No, the Cleveland pick is good, considering they passed on Hunter and Carter, and then they ended up going for Graham, the best D tackle in the draft. That actually is a good pick next to Myles Garrett. That's like a big name that you can bring in. So that isn't a bad pick. The Bears definitely have the worst pick in the draft so far, hands down. Not even close. I don't really like the McMillan pick because of his attitude, but I hope it works out for the Carolina Panthers and whatnot. But as I'm scrolling through the picks right now, yeah, the Bears is definitely the worst pick in the draft. And maybe it'll work out. Maybe Ben Johnson and the Bears know something that we don't. But, I mean, as far as, the accolades of Tyler Warren and passing on him and choosing another tight end, I mean, you could have at least picked offensive line for Caleb Williams, and then still people would have been mad, but to pick a same position and think that that's better than Tyler Warren, I thought Ben Johnson watched film, but apparently not. Obviously, there's a lot of rumor there. I mean, again, they went whole the Kenny Pickett route, and Sanders won't work out there either. Again, they keep trying to find the next Big Ben, But it's starting to show you Big Bens don't grow on trees. And all the guys that they've been grabbing, they're not good enough. Fields and Russell Wilson, and all these Kenny Pickett, they're not Big Ben, Because if you end up getting Shedeur Sanders and George Pickens, it's gonna not be good. It's gonna end up, it's gonna end up being kind of like a media frenzy, but you're not gonna get results. As good as Mike Tomlin is, but if you ended up drafting Shedeur Sanders, that could be the beginning of the end for Mike Tomlin. And he might end up getting fired a year or two after. I like Will Johnson. Walker, linebacker from Georgia, solid. Yeah, Walker sliding in the draft, but someone will grab him. Maybe the Falcons draft him. If I'm the Falcons, I would draft him. That would be a good fit for their team. You don't want Ballard fired anymore? And obviously Walker, from being from Georgia, makes sense. Obviously going to the Falcons, keep it in the family, stay home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Milrose in the draft as well. But you're not going to see him on day one, though. All right, Falcons, take your hometown kid. Pick us in. And the smart move would be to pick Jalen Walker. Yeah, Arizona's next. Falcons, Cardinals, Bengals, Seahawks, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then Broncos, and then Steelers. Yeah, there's 0% chance of Milroe getting picked in the first round. 0. Your boy. My S. Usually my S will be on many, many things, but there you go. Like I said, I do a lot of fucking reading. I do a lot of research, a lot of film. I'm not going to be right about everything. There's definitely going to be things I'm going to be wrong, or if the order gets shaken up with the trade and whatnot, and then people start pivoting. I'm not in every fucking person's brain and whatnot to have the ESP, but I know what I would do if I was in charge of that club. But this is a good pick for the Falcons. And here for the Cardinals, if I am running the team, I'm going Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State to pair him up with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray. That's what I would do. But I'm not sure if that's what's going to happen, but that's what I would do. Yeah, he's smiling down today. You need a dynamic duo receiver, and there's a lot of other positions that you can definitely go for, but we'll see if Emeka Egbuka ends up going here to the Cardinals with Kyler. Not JT in the building. What's good? Not yet. Still waiting. I mean, hell, if he goes past the Steelers, there might be a chance he goes in the beginning of the second round. How you doing, JT? All right, after this pick, we're halfway through the draft, so it's going to be a 4-hour stream. Debating mowing the lawn. That is definitely, I think the weather is going to start to change here pretty soon, at least here in Oregon. Reflect would give you an idea based on where you live in Washington, but I know towards the weekend, like Sunday, that might be where the rain starts, at least here in Oregon, and then again on Tuesday. So you got a few days, of cloudy weather that you can get the job done more than likely, unless you got a storm coming in your neck of the woods. I did not hear that. All right, Cardinals, where are you going? You going to go Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State, to pair up with Marvin Harrison Jr.? It makes sense to me. They have a lot more needs than wide receiver, but I could see them pairing up Emeka and Marvin together with Kyler. Let's see if they do it or not. Yeah, we have good weather here in Oregon as well, like mid-70s. Obviously, Matthew Golden could be another opportunity for the pick as well. Texas wide receiver. Where are we going here? Who's it going to be? Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, or will it be Matthew Golden from Texas? Those could happen here. I'd be shocked if they go guard, bro. I think they're going to go wide receiver. But we'll see. And they go with Nolan. Wow, surprise. Heat tackle from Ole Miss. That was not one of their main guys initially that they were at least advertising that they were targeting. Interesting. That's why, sometimes you end up getting a little bit of a surprise. Next up is the Bengals on the clock. I figured that they would go wide receiver, and they did not. And I know they were high on Emeka Egbuka as well as Matthew Golden. So interesting. No, Hawks is coming up pretty soon. Yeah, this has to be a defensive player 100% for the Bengals. You got Bengals, Hawks, Bucks, and then Broncos, and then Steelers. All right, where are the Bengals going to go here? Do they go Boston College edge with Donovan, Aziraku? He's kind of like a Trey Hendrickson clone. I'm not sure if they would pick him here, but I know that could be a possibility. But it definitely, I would be shocked if it's an offensive player. I'm pretty sure it'll be defense. They need it. Yeah, well, considering that they had the bottom two offensive line with the Patriots, if they don't pick offensive line, then it shows you that they still continue to not know what they're doing. But also, too, if they do pick O-line, they have to make sure they pick the right one. They've been picking some, but they haven't really been picking the right one and been leaving better talent on the board. Yeah, but it's so, we watched the Bengals and Burrow and Jamar Chase and Mix, after Mixon left, and then they had to, figure out different individuals that kind of fill in the gaps at running back. Offense was fantastic with Burrow and Chase. Like best quarterback, best receiver, very dominant. But besides Trey Hendrickson, they need some help there. Nice. Choo-choo. $2 stacks, rack, and a little bit of jack. Bang, bang. Appreciate you. Similar color to the Colts as well. It's a perfect fit. $2 holla. Stacks, racks, jack, bang, bang. Well, you're not the Chicago Bears or the Cleveland Browns, so you will not have to worry about Shedeur Sanders getting picked when you have Joe Burrow. We're at 43, 15-7 to go. What do we want to do for tomorrow? Do we want to do the Mariners versus the Marlins, or do we want to do rounds 2 and 3 for the NFL draft? For some of y'all that are regulars that are here typically on a regular basis, what do you guys want to do? You want me to do rounds 2 and 3 starting at 4 o'clock Pacific, or do you want me to do the Mariner game against the Marlins? Logan Gilbert is on the bump, on the mound, so I'm a little torn. Because the draft is exciting for me, but Logan Gilbert is also exciting for me as well. So, and we're more than halfway through here. Bengals on the clock, Seahawks, and then Bucks. If Shedeur Sanders doesn't get picked by Pittsburgh at 21, there is a possibility that he could be one of the first picks in the second round, unless someone else at the bottom of the board, would go that route. But If you're looking at the picks, Chargers have a quarterback. Green Bay's got a quarterback. Minnesota's got, J.J. McCarthy. Texans already got their quarterback, and C.J. Stroud. Rams already got one. Ravens got one. Lions got one. Commanders got one. Bills got one. Chiefs got one. And Eagles got one. So really, if the Steelers, he doesn't get picked there, he will go in the second round. So, because all the other teams after already have their starting quarterback, there wouldn't be a point of picking Sanders. It would be a stupid pick. So, yeah, Sam Hubbard, that's a big loss. Donovan Ezel-Araku. Could be. Let's see. Thank you to Sarah and Cole for those last 2 donos. We're getting up there on the number. I appreciate it. Yeah, but the thing is the draft starts tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific. The Mariner game starts at like 6:30, 6:40. So there's like a 2-hour difference. So, like by the time that the Mariner game starts, we'll probably be in the 3rd round. Stewart getting picked. A&M edge. There goes Shamar. All right, Hawks on the clock. They need defense, so there you go. Now, every single person that is a Hawk fan, or if you're on a Hawk fan page, good luck. Because all it's going to lead to is a bunch of arguing. Not good for my, that's why I don't do those things. I don't do anything Oregon Ducks. I don't do anything Blazers, Mariners. None of my teams. I never do that because it just ends up with a bunch of people that think they know sports and they don't. Just a bunch of toxic masculinity. People thinking they know everything without reading or watching film or watching the game. What happens if you guys end up going safety for like Nick Eminori? It'd be interesting to see where they go here. Yeah, 2 sacks last 3 years. Yeah, I think that I would have, if I was running it, I think I would have went with Donovan Ezel-Araku. I would have went that probably route, but yeah, but you got to understand though too, with the team that you have the second worst offensive line in football with the Patriots. So you can get all these flashy running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, but if you continue not to have anyone that can pass block or run block, it's going to be pointless. Yeah, you don't have Geno or DK or Lockett anymore, but again, when you had them, you still really weren't able to do anything. So that should be a tall tale sign. And on top of that, they don't have very good evaluators there. They missed on a lot of their picks. So, I hope it works out. But, I'm glad that I'm not a Hawk fan. I wouldn't be able to handle it. But we'll see what happens in the Hawk War Room here. It's all good. We can watch the Raiders. We can watch the Falcons for Michael Penix Jr. We can watch the Huskies, enjoy what they do. But I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty rough for the next couple years, and they are going to take a lot of those players that they had for granted, and all of the shit talking. Like I said, if you want to, talk shit about Geno and DK and Lockett, and a few games down the road, they're going to be wishing that they had those guys still there. Yeah, O-line is a disaster, 100%. Yeah. I feel like some Hawk fans, are realistic, but I feel a lot of them are naive, And there goes Zabel, the guy I told you about that the Niners were looking at. The offensive guard from North Dakota State. That's the Niner kid I was talking to you guys about like 20 minutes ago. Niners were looking at him, so they were like, okay, we're going to grab him. There he is. And again, Niners were looking at him pretty heavy as well. So I know a lot of Hawk fans are like, who? Who the hell is that? But, offensive line. How often do you have to keep ignoring a position when you're bottom two? So glad that they addressed it. Hope it works out. All right, my Tampa Bay Bucks on the clock, baby. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I don't really know where we're gonna go. They could go corner like Maxwell Hairston. You can go that route. They could also go Matthew Golden, for the Tampa Bay Bucks. So, I'm not really sure what direction we're going to go, because obviously we know Mike Evans and Chris Godwin aren't getting any younger. It's always good to beef up the offensive line, even though it's already pretty solid. You could look for the future, with McMillan adding a piece like a Golden, or a Mecca Egbuka type, there if you wanted to go that route. But, we do need defense, But again, some of the guys might be off the board that they were looking at for like linebacking core, guys on the D tackle, DN scope. Now, obviously, you can always use corners and safeties, and I wouldn't be mad at that, But if I had to take a guess, I would assume, wide receiver or corner. I would assume they would probably go that route. Yeah, Will Johnson would be amazing. Fucking getting a Michigan stud, obviously at this position. So we'll see where it goes. Also, Alabama linebacker Jahad Campbell. We need linebackers, right? Because Levante David is going to retire after this year, and the Devin White experiment didn't work out. We could be a little bit better there. So that wouldn't surprise me either. Megan with the tour. Stacks, racks with a little jack. Bang, bang. And I know the Niners were looking at that individual as well. So they decided to pass. You scooped him up. And definitely going offensive line is the number one priority for the Seattle Seahawks. You got to go from being bottom two and work your way up. Obviously, the pecking order of us, obviously for the offensive line ranks. Levante David is 35. And Mike Evans is 31. So 4-year difference. If that answers your question, Judah. But again, they could go wide receiver for the future to pair up with Jalen McMillan. But again, we don't really need that. That's kind of like a luxury pick. Going for corner or for linebacker would probably suit me better. I'm a defensive guy. So, I love Bucky Irving. I love McMillan. I love Kate Otten, Vita Vea. I love getting Ducks and Huskies. But probably going corner or linebacker would be the smartest. We'll see what they do. And Maxwell Harrison's a corner from Kentucky, and Todd Campbell from Bama. No, yeah, you don't pick until there's only one pick this round for the Hawks. Appreciate all the support. Glad you guys picked an offensive lineman, and hopefully the injury bug doesn't hit them, and that'll really help out on that offensive line. I mean, it can't really get any worse than what it got to, so got to go upward. All right, here's my Tampa Bay Bucks. Where are we going? Are we going linebacker? Are we going corner? And there's some really solid pieces still left. All right, enjoy your time there. Appreciate you. Come on, Bucks. Come on, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. The pick is in. Who is it? Shedeur Sanders entering tonight. Dolphins, Falcons, Steelers. Dolphins and Falcons? Why? Why the fuck would they do that? Shows you how dumb some people are. No way in hell the Falcons would do it. They got Michael Penix Jr. Dolphins got Tua, and even though Tua's not the greatest, I'd be so pissed. I mean, a lot of people would be pissed picking him. I get it, Deion's your dad, but, he might be the most overrated prospect in the first round, besides the Bears tight end pick that was very questionable. Where are we going here? Corner, linebacker, wide receiver?
Oh my God.
Got to be one of those three. Let's go! Emeka Egbuka. Woo! Hell yeah! I like that pick. Now we got Jalen McMillan with Egbuka, Evans, and Godwin. It's kind of a luxury pick. We didn't really need it, but again, you're looking for the future after Evans and Godwin retire, right? And you're going to need guys that are going to be able to catch the ball from Baker. And again, we still need linebacker. We can pick that later. Corner, we need that. But let's go, baby. I like it. I mean, I would have been cool with him. That would have worked out. Obviously, Matthew Golden. I know the Bucs had a little bit of interest there. The wide receiver from Texas. But, Emeka Egbuka, baby. I love it. Hell yeah. And we saw how good Jalen McMillan did for the Bucs. He's better than Rome that went to the Bears. And, again, Baker Mayfield, he's going to be able to make you a stud rather than necessarily Caleb Williams in Chicago. I love it, baby. And he's from the Pacific Northwest. I love that shit. I mean, I don't like Ohio State beating the brakes off of the Ducks, but again, I like him. Solid player, good hands. Him and McMillan will feed off of each other. They'll learn from Evans and Godwin and Kate Otten. Baker Mayfield's going to get him on point. I'm excited. Awesome pick. And I think I would have rather had him over Golden. If it was Matthew Golden from Texas, I would have been happy about that too. But I think Egbuka, for me, slightly higher in my rankings by just a little bit. I love it, baby. I love it. I love it. Emeka Egbuka. I'm loving it. Hell yeah. I like that pick. And there's a lot of drafts where I'm like, oh God, you know, like, and I'm a defensive guy, but I can't appreciate, you know, and the only thing better is if Emeka Egbuka came from the Huskies or the Ducks. That would be the only thing that would get me even more excited. But great pick. Our draft room hits every single year. We got a top 2 GM in Jason Lick. He does not miss, just like Howie Roseman, even though he had some early misses a few years back. But Lick don't miss. Next up are the Broncos. Dude, incredible. Yeah, we're going to have some good fantasy players. That's for damn sure. Man, I'm loving it. And again, you know, Campbell at linebacker, you know, would have been cool. It would have filled a need. You know, obviously Maxwell Hairston, corner, would have helped with a need. But we can always draft those guys, you know, in the next round. You know, you can go for a linebacker, corner linebacker. But if they felt that this was the best fit, you know, and I agree. I'm loving it. And he's already used to wearing red, so it's going to be a very easy transition. The same colors that he wore for the Buckeyes, he's going to wear for the Buccaneers. Buckeyes, Buccaneers, boom shakalaka. Fuck yeah. Yes, sir. Heck yeah, baby. All right, Broncos on the clock. And then we got the Steelers. But obviously the Steelers' track record at quarterback hasn't been good since Big Ben. So why would you want to do it again with Shedeur Sanders? You know, you want to have a guy that is a me guy, just like George Pickens? Is that what Pittsburgh Steeler culture has turned into? That you want to have me guys instead of team guys? That could be the beginning of the end for Mike Tomlin. Yes, we did. I mean, if I didn't have Kate Otten, I would have loved to have a Tyler Warren. You got the Swiss Army knife, Taysom Hill. But just coming from Penn State. You're going to have a lot of fun watching his career develop. I mean, pretty much we don't really have any Bear fans that are regulars here. So really that's the team that had the shittiest pick. You know, based on with Warren being there. But let's be happy that the Bears are stupid. You know, so that way Sarah could end up getting the guy that she's been wanting for years. Mayo with a tenor. I'm not sure who Mayo is, but thank you so much, Mayo, that you're watching. If you're in the room right now, let me know. Or Go Bucks. Thank you, Mayo. Mayo with a tenor. That might be Mayo's first dono to the channel, unless he has a different screen name. Thank you so much, Mayo. Rax with the little Cactus Jack, bang, bang, go Bucks. That's what was written in the note. I appreciate it. Mayo showing love for the Buccaneer pick. Thank you so much, man. It means a lot. And when we do the Cash App, that'll definitely help go towards like a bill or to help Paisley. So you know how that goes. Was that you? Were you the one that did the $10 dono? Thank you so much, my guy, if that was you. I appreciate it. Go Bucks. Matthew Golden tripped out thinking he was going to get picked before Emeka Egbuka, but didn't happen. Caleb? Yeah, well, the Bears need offensive line, and, they already have, Rome and, a lot of these other pieces, already there. But it's just, when you have a player that might be one of the top 4 picks, in the whole first round, and you draft another guy from Michigan over, the best tight end in the draft, like undoubtedly, it makes you wonder what Ben Johnson is smoking, and the Bears continue to do stupid things. And I'm hoping for Matt's sake here that the Broncos, it doesn't look like they're going to trade down. So hopefully they'll end up getting someone that will be beneficial. And I know the Broncos were looking at Emeka Egbuka also, but we got the pick, and that might be the reason that the Bucs went that route. Maybe the Broncos go Matthew Golden. I took the one guy, but maybe you guys go wide receiver and you go for the other. He's in the room still. Yeah. All right, Broncos, here we go, Matt. And it's Barron in the corner. I think that's better than going for Golden. That was from Texas there. It's a passing league, and in the division that you're in, you're going to need that. What do you think about that? Are you familiar with that name at all or no, Matt? Chief with the fiver. Yes, it is, man. Stacks, racks with a little cactus jack, bang, bang. And I honestly think if the Buccaneers didn't pick Egbuka and we would have went, for... obviously the other wide receiver, Matthew Golden, I think you would have picked Emeka Egbuka. I'm almost positive. But now you had to pivot and Dodney Barron. And again, you're going to need, good secondary pieces, especially in that division. So, appreciate you, Chief. My boy. We're at 60-40 to go. Yeah, Barron and Surtain. And on top of that, they ended up getting Talanoa Hufanga, right, and Dre Greenlaw in the offseason from the Niners. Broncos might have the best defense in the NFL. Vikings defense is going to be very good, but based off the additions and now this draft pick, the Broncos might have the number 1 rated D. And they were already like top 2, top 3 last year. Now you get Talanoa Hufanga, stud. Dre Greenlaw, stud. And now you get this pick. Oh my, I'm going to be watching some Bronco game. I love defense, baby. Broncos building a little silent assassin, man. And then on top of having Bo Nix there, obviously you need better weapons at running back, wide receiver, tight end, and O-line. That's true, but again, you saw pretty good results, out of Bo Nix with pretty much nothing to work with. Let's be honest. Cortland Sutton, but let's be real. The Broncos need a shitload on offense. But again, they're building that D to try to have something like, uber special. And I'm seeing the vision from Sean Payton. And eventually they'll be able to scoop up value picks at running back, wide receiver, and tight end. I'd be excited if I was Matt Payton. Starting to look good here. Yeah, Bronco defense is fucking going to be insane. Yeah, unfortunately, we would have no chance to draft Tyler Warren unless we actually had a top 12 pick, and we didn't. So, and we already have Cade Otton. So if we have Cade Otton, he's already a good tight end. We don't need Tyler Warren. We need to fill in the gaps. Like if you watch Cade Otton, he's a guy that could get 5 to 10 touchdowns every year. He's solid, and a guy that could get 2 in a game. Steelers pick is in. So Steelers are going to go Shador or Jackson Dart here. But again, it hasn't worked out, right? Kenny Pickett didn't work out. You got the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. That shit didn't work out. You've been going with all these quarterbacks. Big Bens don't grow in trees. don't know. Do you really want two me players on the team with Shedeur Sanders and George Pickens? Again, if Shedeur doesn't get picked here, he's a second-round pick. Because everyone else left in the first round already has their future quarterback. And it's Harmon. Bye-bye, Shedeur. Shedeur going in the second round, and that's a good pick. Harmon from the Ducks going to the Steelers. That's actually a smarter pick by the Steelers there. Mike Tomlin's like, I'm not getting my job fucking lost. I don't give a shit about Dion or his kid. See ya. Good pick right there by Harmon to the Ducks, to the Steelers. That's using your brain right there. You go on Shedeur, you could get yourself fired. You know, and again, they didn't go that route. Thank God for them. Now Shedeur going to the second round. Overrated player anyway. Just because your dad is Dion doesn't mean you're good. He didn't really have a very good stat line. Like, they fucking retired Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders' number for what? What did they accomplish? You know? It's like a hype train. And if you were going to pick one of the guys from Colorado, it ain't Shedeur. It's Travis Hunter. Bro, are you kidding me? Emeka Egbuka? He's from the Pacific Northwest. We love getting Huskies and Ducks. Buckeye player. Pairing him up with McMillan, who actually had a great season. Godwin and Evans. They're almost at the end of their careers. A++, bro. You kidding me? We still need linebacker and corner, but I love the pick. And a lot of times, I'm not going to love the pick. I'm going to be like, fuck. But I'm on board. Bro, if you would have gotten Harmon, you would have shit yourself. You kidding me? Chiefs fans would have lost it. I mean, there is a chance that Sanders maybe matures and maybe develops into a player, but let's be real. There is a very strong possibility Cam Ward fails. Shedeur Sanders fails. Jackson Dart fails. Dylan Gabriel fails. Quinn Ewers fails. All of them fail. Like, this is not a good quarterback class. Yes, sir. I love it, man. All right, Chargers on the clock. And you know what this means, right? That since the Steelers didn't take Shedeur, right? More than likely, Aaron Rodgers will be playing for the Steelers next year. They just haven't been able to negotiate the number on the contract. But if you're going to pass on the player, you know, then you're more than likely that might be still an option. And it's something that they haven't, discussed yet with the media. I mean, unless they want to try to go for one of those other quarterbacks. Obviously, Mason Rudolph isn't good enough to be the quarterback, but maybe try to get Quinn Ewers or Jackson Dart later. Maybe that's what their vision is. And if they can't get those guys, then they sign Aaron Rodgers. Chargers on the clock. Yeah, but Steelers don't have a very good O-line, so it wouldn't really make any sense for him to go there. It's not like he's going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or going to the Eagles, Again, it's like if you go somewhere where you actually have a fucking line, but, a lot of the, teams that he was projected, they don't have a good line, But I call a spade, again, to me, he's more of an ego guy, a me guy, and not in a good way. So maybe this will humble him a little bit, but I mean, I get it. Your dad's Deion Sanders, but that doesn't mean you're going to become a good player or a Hall of Famer. But a very good pick with the Harmon pick from the Ducks to the Steelers. Smart pick. And Steelers don't have a second-round pick. They pick 19th in the third. So maybe, if they wanted to go, or whoever might be sitting there, Dylan Gabriel type, I don't think Jackson Dart would still be there at that point in the third round, but you never know. That might be like Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel territory, somewhere around there, third, fourth, fifth, but. I would agree with that. Best name on that board still right now is Will Johnson. See where the Chargers go, offense or defense. They obviously need Justin Herbert with some help. Trayvon Henderson from the Ohio State Buckeyes. Mike Green, edge from Marshall. Those are two guys I know that they were interested in. I mean, essentially, the Steelers are probably looking to next year or the year after for their future quarterback. But again, if you got Mason, Rudolph there, I don't think that the fan base would be that comfortable just tanking for a whole year to try to get the first pick in the draft or something like that. So, or a top 5 pick. But one thing is for sure, Will Johnson, Michigan ties, Harbaugh. That would make the most sense, is going Will Johnson, to the Chargers, but we'll see if that ends up happening. That's the best value pick that's left on the board right now. Trayvon Henderson would be interesting, obviously with what he was able to accomplish, but. Right. Still a chance for Golden to go off the board in the first round before this draft is up.
Oh my God.
This is a shitty quarterback class. It's like, how many times do you have to, repeat it? Like when you're reaching for a player, when you can actually get a better player, and attitude means something. Again, if you got a shitty attitude, and you're more of a showboater, again, teams are going to be turned off by that, like a Nepo baby, like feeling entitled because your dad is Dion, and, some people might like that, but again, a lot of owners and GMs are not going to fuck with you just because your fucking dad is Dion. Maybe that's what he thought. Like, oh, for sure, I'm getting picked because my dad's Dion and I got the connection. Yes, Mosh. He's a stud. So for the regulars that are in here, what do we want to do? Reflect. Do you want to do Mariner game tomorrow, or do you want to do rounds 2 and 3 of the draft? What do we want to do for tomorrow's stream? Mariners at like 6:30 Pacific with Logan Gilbert on the mound, or do rounds 2 and 3 in the draft? And that starts at 4 o'clock Pacific. Yeah, but the thing is, let's be honest. Let's be, I think we're going to do Mariners. Like, let's be real, though, Finley. Out of everyone that's in the draft right now, right, out of everyone, right, who's got the persona, like Shador? Name one guy. Maybe his teammate, Travis Hunter, but he actually delivers. But besides those two, who else? It's kind of showboaty, with this whole shit, let's be real. There's a difference on being able to like score, but make it about you, and everyone's going to have confidence, but when it turns into arrogance and you just think that you're better because your dad is Dion, let's be real here. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, Mexican, let's be real. There's a reason. It's like a George Pickens. You can be a great player, athletically, but you don't really got the best attitude,
Oh my God.
And Hampton's off the board. I mean, who's the cockiest showboat out of everyone? It's Shador. No question. Green Bay on the clock. Marion Hampton getting taken over Trayvon Henderson. That shows you how they feel about him. It's a big pick for them. And I like that pick over Henderson as well. Yeah, but they need offensive help for Justin Herbert, right? They only had really one good piece. They had no more, Keenan Allen, no more Mike Williams. They ended up losing no more Eckler, and they ended up having a rookie wide receiver being their best option. So at some point, you've got to be able to help Herbert out. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to compete with the Broncos, Raiders, and Chiefs. So this is the smart pick. Now, is Will Johnson a good player? Hell yeah, he is. But this is more of a need for that particular team. And they got Lad McConkey, and that's fucking it. Who else do they got making plays for them? Fucking no one. But now you end up having Hampton and McConkey, baby. Yeah, well, especially with all the issues with Jair Alexander staying healthy. That would be a smart pick. I know that they've been looking at Maxwell Hairston as well from Kentucky, but, Johnson is better. So wild card pick for the Packers would be Matthew Golden, since he's still there on the board at wide receiver. But we'll see if they go corner or wide receiver. But if I had to put money on it, that's where I would go if I was Green Bay, corner or wide receiver. It just depends on, who intrigues you the most.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but we don't really know if Najee's going to be able to stay healthy. Getting to the back end of this first round. About Coach Prime, I think he's a great motivator. I think he does have some football intelligence. He was able to turn a couple programs around, and I loved watching him at Florida State. I loved watching him on the Falcons. I love watching him on the Niners. That's my favorite Dion when they won the Super Bowl with Steve Young and Jerry Rice. And he was awesome on the Cowboys. Kind of started to fade, when he was on the Ravens, when he was kind of washed. Dion has done a lot of things, but again, everyone's going to have an opinion, based on, his coaching style or recruiting and whatnot. So I don't know. I prefer more Dion the player rather than Dion, the coach. I wouldn't want Dion to be the coach of the Oregon Ducks. Packers love Jordan Love. Come on, Max. They love Jordan Love. Oh, yeah. Packers fans would melt down. They try to seem like, they're America's team, They try to come off as, likable, but they're toxic as fuck. They love to go over the top and shit talk, the Lions and the Vikings, all the teams that are in the division. They try. It's like, they try to put on a smile, but then as soon as you turn around, they're flipping you off. They're very fake to me, not genuine. Some of them are, but a lot of non-genuine people. Do they have passion for their team? Yeah, they do. But sometimes they go above and beyond when they don't need to, That's why I really love the fact that the Lions just fucking curb stomp the fuck out of them, Sometimes you need to learn. Yeah, you had Bart Starr, you had Brett Favre, right? You had Aaron Rodgers, now Jordan Love. But guess what? That doesn't mean that you're going to win every year. Sometimes you need to get slapped in the mouth. Not my cup of tea. A little too obnoxious and fake for my liking. All right, next three picks: Packers, Vikings, Texans. It'd be pretty hard to fuck this pick up. I mean, there's still wide receivers and corners sitting there for you to grab. Pick is in. One trade, one quarterback off the board. Yeah, but even if OKC loses this game, they're not losing the series. They're still making it to the NBA Finals, period. And SGA is winning MVP, period. Broth that was boiled in beer and then grilled. No, I have not. Sounds delicious. Red's apple ale. Delicious. I don't really get a chance to eat, like I used to. I'm kind of on a, diet and whatnot, but, I love burgers and dogs just as much as anybody. Yeah, Logan Gilbert's on the mound tomorrow, so we're going to do Mariners tomorrow. I'll watch the second and third round starting at 4. We're going to do Mariners tomorrow, especially with the way that the Mariners have been balling lately. Logan Gilbert on the mound. I can't skip that. Yeah, this has got to be a corner or wide receiver here. Chiefs, you think it's going to be Golden? Could be. Corner would be more important, especially with Jair Alexander's track record for injuries. Fans are everywhere, but that's not a good thing. Hope the Lions smack them around for many years to come. Hurry up and make the pick. And there's Golden. We'll see if that ends up being another wide receiver that's injury prone. I got the better one, though, in Emeka Egbuka, so they can take that. And they always have a lot of wide receivers, but a lot of them get hurt. So it'll be like next man up mentality. So, obviously if Reed goes down or if they end up having another injury with one of their guys, now they have another that Jordan Love can go to. All right, Vikings on the clock.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, especially when you have one of the best corners like sitting there, and Jair Alexander's, kind of injury history. That would have been probably the smarter way to go, but maybe they don't want to pick a guy from Michigan. So, what are you watching your stuff on, Sarah? Are you watching on NFL.com, ESPN? How do you know the pick that is in before it even says it, like on ESPN and NFL.com? What are you watching your programming on? Because you're saying pick is in before the pick is even in on NFL.com or ESPN.com. What are you watching? Besides just the TV, are you watching like a different program? Like, what are you watching? Are you watching something on like Amazon, like a special draft program? Like, what are you watching it on? Because obviously, depending on where you're watching, there might be a little bit faster of a feed, but I mean, you're typing in pick is in before I'm seeing anything on any of my screens. Just curious. Paisley. Paisley's waiting for Daddy. She's like, Daddy. I love you. Love you.
Oh my gosh.
On X, and then what on X are you watching? You're watching X. What on X? What are you watching on there? Like, what specifically are you watching on X that's giving you that information? And we're going to be doing Marlins and Mariners tomorrow, 6:40 Pacific. My best friend Justin is going to be at the game. Hopefully he'll get a foul ball or a hot dog from heaven. And Logan Gilbert is on the mound, so we'll be doing it tomorrow. Yeah, Golden's got the speed. All right, Donovan Jackson selected by the Vikings. I don't really, like I said, and then on the Sunday, I have a choice. I'm either going to do the Mariner game or Talladega stream. I still haven't decided really yet what I want to do. So, but we will be doing the Mariners tomorrow at 6:30 Pacific, 6:40 Pacific, and I'll just watch rounds 2 and 3. And then on Sunday, it'll either be the Mariner game or Talladega.
Oh my gosh.
So Giants picking Jackson Dart here. Shedeur Sanders is going to be shitting himself. He's like, I'm not even the second guy picked. Yeah, but what are you looking on X specifically? Who is dropping the information on X sooner than everyone else? Like, is it like an insider? Are you watching what specifically are you watching on there? Like, whose account is leaking the information? Ari? It's interesting. I wonder where he's getting his information from. It looks like Giants are going to take Jackson Dart. I was going to say there has to be someone that you're watching as an insider, somewhere, because again, it's not updated on any of the websites. And I have seen that in the past on like Twitter/X when you get someone that's there or they have a connection to someone, that is there to tweet it, faster than everyone else. But it looks like Jackson Dart is going to the Giants. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But this Ari is fucking tweeting like a motherfucker. Motherfucker's been doing like a billion tweets and stuff. So obviously he has some kind of inside information. Yeah, I think Dart has more of an upside, but we still don't know if that will work out there for, the Giants and whatnot. But five likes to 30. I figured that's what you were doing. There was something because you were getting like the pick in at least like 30 seconds before, sometimes a minute before. So he might be like there or someone's there and they're sitting near the people that, actually have, the information and whatnot that's getting relayed. Because obviously he can't be in every war room. Obviously that's not going to be allowed. He's getting the info a little bit sooner than the others. Dart going to the Giants. Take care, Matt. Shedeur Sanders shouldn't even showed up. Yeah, Jackson Dart, it's already a done deal. Done deal, done deal. I want to know who Ari's fucking source is. That's what I want to fucking know. Who is Ari's fucking source?
Oh my gosh.
Giants fans are going to like this over Shedeur. Yeah, it's already confirmed. It's Dart. Dart, baby. Going for a team guy rather than a me guy. But don't get too excited because this could be the same thing as Daniel Jones. So, like, it might be, interesting for a couple years, but that doesn't mean that this is going to be the savior. This isn't going to be, Phil Simms or Eli Manning. They drafted him. Congratulations. But this is not like a for sure, like, he's going to pan out. It's not like they have a great O-line and a lot of good weapons. Saquon is no longer there. Falcons on the clock. I mean, well, again, based on what he's saying, Kuiper, well, there's no other teams that are interested, besides the Saints at this point. So if they have the pick in the second round and he's there, they're going to pick him. But that doesn't mean that he's going to pan out for that team either.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Lane is a pretty smart guy, but that's a little bit of a stretch comparing him to Josh Allen. Come on, Daboll. No offensive line, no Saquon Barkley, no wide receivers and tight ends. Defense has a couple guys. Good luck. I think some of and obviously we know the Saints fan base, who actually follow me pretty heavy. Obviously they have a, very strong, culture there and whatnot. And, to be able to bring in, a quarterback like him, I know some of those fans would love that, based on that city, James Pierce Jr., edge from Tennessee. All right, Ravens on the clock. Russ and Jameis, yeah, but those guys aren't long-term, Can you imagine what the quarterback meetings are going to be like? Russ is going to be overly serious. Jameis is going to be joking when he shouldn't be. And then you got the guy Dart just trying to be able to take their jobs. Yeah, I like the pick by Atlanta. Man, look at all of the Rams compensation, dude. Rams fucking fleeced the Falcons right there. Sean McVay and company. 2nd, 7th, and a 1st. Holy hell. They're looking long-term, baby. I mean, that's why the Rams are the Rams, and they're probably going to win the division. Rams, Niners, Hawks, Cardinals. Well, I know they were very high on Kenneth Grant, the Michigan D tackle. That was one guy that they supposedly were pretty high on. I know they also were looking at Shamar Stewart, the edge, but obviously some of these guys are not on the board. Well, you know why? It's because some teams know what they're doing and some teams don't, right? There's some teams that are not very smart, right? Cleveland Browns, Chicago Bears, the Giants are there with them. So, again, when you have a dumb organization, you typically do dumb things every year. Exactly. And you knew he was going to be a beast when you watched him at Florida State, that he was going to pan out. Yeah, Dark's never going to be Josh Allen. But you would assume, some of the guys are gone off the board, but D tackle and D end were a pretty big need for the Ravens. Not sure if that's where they go because some of the guys that they were really eyeing are off the board. So they may have to pivot. So they need interior defensive line because Michael Pierce retired. So, at some point you have to address that. A few more picks to go. All right, so now you say Ravens pick is in. Ari hasn't tweeted anything on that. Where are you getting your information from? Sarah's getting her information from somewhere other than where we're getting. It's not on ESPN. It's not on NFL.com. Ari has not tweeted anything. Where are you getting your information, Sarah? Or is it just the TV? Yeah, I see the ABC broadcast there with the pick is in. Maybe that's just what maybe that's just what it is. Everyone's on a different program watching it. Some are watching it on ABC, ESPN. I was like, where are you getting this info from? Where are you watching? STL in the building. What's good, brother? And we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Ravens, Lions, Commandos, Bills, and then Chiefs, and then we're getting there. And then Chiefs, and then Eagles. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. ABC. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes people's feeds, depending on where you live in the country, also is different. I know, like when we watch, like Peacock, or when we watch like Netflix for Monday Night Raw, sometimes depending if you're on the East Coast or in the Midwest or the West Coast, sometimes people's feeds are slightly sooner than others. I don't know why, but that's just how it is. So. I see it. The Ravens are taking Georgia safety Malachi Starks. That's a good pickup, pairing him up with Kyle Hamilton. David loves it. Ashton Genty, Raiders. Of course, man, I put him on the thumb. Raiders.
Oh my gosh.
And Malachi Starks definitely dropped in the draft, but if you were going to slide in the draft, but you get to go to the fucking Ravens, I mean, they're really not the same defense, obviously after McDonald left, but pairing a guy up with Kyle Hamilton, that's always a good thing. Yeah, Starks was way too good to not go to the second round. He was going to get picked within these last few picks because someone would have pivoted, Lions, Commandos, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, someone. I mean, because again, if the Ravens would have passed on him, someone like the fucking Eagles would have definitely got him. There's no way in hell that a player like that is going to get past the Eagles, especially coming from Georgia. They love Georgia boys, right? And we talked about Starks earlier in the broadcast, and I think that's a pretty good fit for him. You can't be mad at that. Nice pick, Hybrid. I like it too because, like I said, there was a few teams looking at him in the middle of the draft, and sometimes when you slide, you go to a better team, and that's exactly what happened. It's a better team and a better fit for him, and then you get a nice stud to pair up with Hamilton. I like it. And again, if you wouldn't have done it, Hybrid, the Eagles would have got him. They would have. Even if that wasn't the main guy that they were looking at. Anytime they see Georgia, they're like, cha-ching. Odin in the building. What's good? All right, we got Lions, Commandos, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles. I mean, we're talking about the powerhouse teams in the NFL right here. Even though the Commandos kind of came out of nowhere, Jaden Daniels is the truth. Top 5 quarterback in the NFL. More than likely moving forward. I don't assume that he'll have a sophomore slump like C.J. Stroud, but maybe some of the numbers will be slightly lower. But you got Jared Goff in the offense, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen in the Bills, the Chiefs Kingdom with Patrick Mahomes, and then the champs, Eagles, Eagles. Pick is in for the Lions. Baby, baby, baby. And sometimes that happens with corners and safeties. You can still be a really good player, but slide to the bottom end of the first round, even though you could have been a top 15 pick. Safety and corner sometimes go high, but sometimes they drop a little bit. So. Curious to see where we go in these last few picks. And again, if you're a player, you're salivating right now, hoping that your name is called. Going to the Lions, Commandos, Bills, Chiefs, or Eagles, you're just be fucking ecstatic. They've had some bad luck, drafting, that type of position, corner and wide receiver, but that would be a good fit for the Lions. I would agree with that. And obviously he went to Michigan. So you're keeping the guy there at home, just like the Falcons did with the Georgia player. Sometimes when you have a guy from the college school that's there, and every Lion fan would be fucking loving that shit. Right? Every Lion fan and Michigan fan, would be just jumping up and down. They would love it. And it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Because they're going to need that position and need depth. Green Bay's always got to be petty. Yeah, because they're no longer number one anymore, Green Bay. Hell, even Minnesota was better than them. A rude awakening when you end up being extra, and then it finally catches back up to you, and you get slapped in the mouth. Lions are way more likable. Way more likable. Hell, even the Vikings are more likable. And I know at some point, if the Lions and the Bills can improve their defense, maybe we'll get a Lions-Bills Super Bowl. That would be fire. But it may not be for a while. Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson. Tyleek Williams, D tackle from Ohio State. Wow. Wow. They passed on him. No Will Johnson. They said, no, we're not going to take the Michigan boy. We're going to go to the rival, Ohio State Buckeyes. Interesting pick here. Getting the D tackle, Tyleek Williams. .6'2", 334. That's some good size there for the Lions. Now we got Commandos, Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, baby. We're down to the last four. Your boy is tired. I already did the Mariner game earlier today, and we won the series against the Boston Red Sox. First time we've beaten them in a series in 11 years. Special things brewing for the Mariners, baby. 5 straight series wins, and we're going to do number 6 when we play the Marlins tomorrow. Can't wait for Logan Gilbert on the bump tomorrow. Fuck yeah, baby. It's nice, you know, it's like it shows you, you know, like how we were looking in the first, like, you know, 8 to 10 games, and it was looking really terrible. And then we really started to pick it up. So I know the Commandos had an eye on Jahdae Barron, the corner, but shit, you're ready to lay down. I still got to go take Paisley on a long 30 to 45 minute walk, but it'll feel good to get some air. And I get to rest my voice a little bit, and then we'll watch the draft tomorrow, and then again I will stream the Mariner game. Can't wait for Logan Gilbert, and my best friend is going to be there. So I'll be rooting him on to get a hot dog from heaven and a foul ball. Going with his dad, and they're staying for 2 nights or 1 night. So they're going to go to the Friday night game, stay in a hotel Saturday night, and I believe they're going to drive home Sunday, I believe. Well, I think all of us are ready to fucking lay down. I mean, you know, if you're not already laying down already, watching it. So the draft is a fucking grind, you know. It's like every fucking day is like 4 hours, you know. So it's like you're investing a lot of time. And for me, it's a lot longer because I have to make a thumbnail, I have to prep, so that's another hour. And then I already did a Mariner game and I had to prep for that. That's, you know, so it's like grinding here. But again, to be able to spend these days and to put in the hard work and to hang out with you guys and to be able to have these memories together, that's what it's about, you know. Pick is in. And honestly, when you grind so hard, on your dreams and you're on the computer a lot, it's refreshing to be able to get out there and get that fresh air and connect with nature. Like I don't think if I had Paisley, I wouldn't be able to reconnect myself to my childhood, and it's so important, to be able to smell that fresh air, to walk through the grass and hear the birds chirp, and see the stream, and hear that, water movement. There's just something so peaceful about that. All right, take it easy. See you tomorrow, and appreciate all your support. No, I don't think that hybrid, that Shedeur will be the first pick, because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks ahead of the Saints. He'll probably be the 8th pick. You got Browns, Texans, Titans, Browns, Raiders, Patriots, Bears, and then Saints. And all those other teams, they already, have their quarterback to a certain degree. So you're probably going to have to wait till pick number 8 tomorrow, and then Shedeur's name will be called. Commandos, Deebo Samuel, Laramie Tunsil, that's a huge one. Javon Kinlaw, and Will Harris. Commandos are going to be fun to watch next year. And the Commandos are taking offensive tackle Josh Connerly Jr. from the Ducks, baby. Let's go. Go Ducks. Both the Duck players are going to good spots. Pittsburgh and now the Commandos. I know they have to be happy about that. Go Ducks. I love that for him. Love that. Good job, Josh. You're going to the Commandos. Go Ducks. And they need offensive line protection for Jaden Daniels. I think we all know that, right? And some Washington fans are going to be like, who? But that is huge. And then you get to play with Jaden Daniels. Are you kidding me? After playing with Dylan Gabriel, you're in fucking heaven. Are you kidding me? The team overachieved in their first year with their head coach and quarterback and made it to the NFC Championship game. They didn't win, but bright future. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. 2 Duck players in the first round. Fuck yeah. Chiefs were looking at him. And we got the Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles, last 3. You know who this pick should be for the Bills? Will Johnson. He's still sitting there. Take him. You need defense. Don't let that go to the Chiefs or the Eagles. Too good of a player to not pick him here. And again, they need help on that side of the ball, the Buffalo Bills. And to be able to get a guy that could have been a top 15 pick at pick number 30, insane.
Oh my God.
I remember, man. Washington Redskins, Mark Rippon. They won the championship, 1991, with the Hogs. Art Monk. Mark Rippon. Dexter Manley. I was 9 years old. Will Johnson. Bills better not be stupid and pass on him. They're looking for corner. They're also looking at Trey Amos from Mississippi. But if you can have Will Johnson, duh. We'll see what happens here. Will Johnson, Will Johnson, Will Johnson. If you pick anybody else besides Will Johnson, that's dumb, dumb, dumb. Very, very good, but they have a shitty defense. Will Johnson, Will Johnson, Will Johnson. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Yeah, but nobody was beating the Redskins in 91. They were insane. Bills lost 4 straight Super Bowls. It was Giants, Redskins, Cowboys, Cowboys. And that Redskin team was insane. Pick up in the building. What's good? All right, Bills pick is in. They better pick Will Johnson, baby. They'll love that if they pick him. But more than likely, it'll be a corner, which would be the smart pick. Let's see if they do it. All good, Jacob. How the Guardians doing lately? So they're talking about Will Johnson has a medical condition. Well, that'll make you slide. All right, who's it going to be? Will Johnson or Trey Amos? It's going to be a corner. Who is it going to be for the Buffalo Bills? They need, good defensive players. Pick is in. Yeah, I'm already familiar with him because he's from the Pacific Northwest. He's from Washington, so I'm very familiar with Emeka Egbuka. Yeah, I love the pick. Just like with Jalen McMillan from the Huskies. We love it. Chief with a $5. Thank you, man. It's been a long fucking day. Thank you for your support. Stack, rack, jack, bang, bang. Thank you so much. Every dollar counts. Appreciate you. Yeah, be good, do good, God bless, and go Bills. Johnson or Amos here. Thank you for your support. 65. We're only 35 away from the goal. Wow, Eagles are trading 32 and 164 to the Chiefs for 31. They got their eye on somebody. Uh-oh. They got their eye on somebody. They got their eye on somebody. Eagles trading up 1 spot to the Chiefs. They know something. What do they know that we don't know? Hairston. Interesting that they went Hairston for that position, but they maybe had less worries about injury. But they ended up going corner, so that's what they needed. There are 3 of them. All right, last 2 picks, and the Eagles trade up. All right, Eagles and Chiefs. I know the Eagles were looking at Josh Connerly, but they can't get him because he got picked. Maybe Maybe this is Jahad Campbell, the linebacker that I was going to get. I know I was looking at him and whatnot. Maybe, there hasn't been too many linebackers that have gone off the board. Maybe Philly, decided, hey, we want the linebacker here. Maybe they go Jahad Campbell. That would be a steal, because again, Campbell could have been a guy that was a top 15, top 20 pick. Let's see what the Eagles do, and then we have the Chiefs. Colts were looking at Campbell too. Nice. You guys did your due diligence and your homework. Okay, baby. Last two. Your boy is tired. I'm exhausted. Sometimes it makes you wonder, when there's three corners, that are there, like what's the deciding factor? Is it like the player played in the scheme that they think that would suit better? Obviously, Will Johnson has an injury issue. That's why he's sliding. So obviously we think that he's the most talented, but if you have an injury and they don't feel that you're going to maybe be a healthy player, then you're sliding. But based on talent, Will Johnson definitely could have been a top 20 pick, but obviously he's sliding because of the injury concern. What will the Eagles do? And the Eagles love, like Georgia, Alabama players. So it would not shock me if they go that route. But it might be someone that the Chiefs were looking at also. So they wanted to make sure that they got it. They didn't want to wait one more pick. And then when you can't wait one more pick, and usually it might be something that both teams are looking at. And the Eagles are taking Jahad Campbell. Your boy is right. Boom, shakalaka. And that's a good pick by the Eagles. They said, okay, I'm not sure if the Chiefs were going to draft him, but it's a better fit in Philadelphia. And they get another SEC prospect. The Eagles get Jahad Campbell. Whoa. At this point, it might be smart to trade back to get another pick. Excellent pick for the Eagles. But again, Eagles and the Tampa Bay Bucks, we got two of some of the best GMs in the business, and they never miss. It's very rare, that they miss, especially in the last few years. Let's see what the Chiefs do. If you had your pick, who do you want to get, Chief? Well, Chief, who do you got your eyes on? Last pick in the first round. Great pick by the Eagles. But again, we always say that. They get the most out of the Bama, Georgia players out of any team in the NFL. Like an SEC fucking super team. Custom jackets are always fire at the draft. Shout out to Harrison. Hopefully it works out there for Buffalo. I expect you had two other guys they could have drafted in the same position. All right, here we go. We're down to the last pick. Eagles are so fucking smart, man. But even if the Chiefs weren't going to pick this player, they knew that at some point, teams are going to, and like this was going to be one of the first players off the board in the second round if he wasn't picked. So smart by Philadelphia. I know Chiefs are looking at Josh Simmons at one point or another, as well as Josh Connerly Jr. from the Ducks. So offensive line, Chief, are you okay with offensive line? Chief Chiefs traded with the Eagles, and they got Jahad Campbell. So Chiefs are the last pick in the draft. They haven't picked yet. So if I had to put money on it, I would say offensive line for the Chiefs, but we have to wait. Eagles traded with the Chiefs to move up one spot. And, you know, it's not like the Chiefs were going to pick Jahad Campbell, so they could have still had him, you know, unless they were worried that someone would trade up from the second round to grab him. But again, I know the Chiefs were looking at Josh Simmons and Connerly from the Ducks, so, you know, could be an offensive tackle type of player. That is a need for the Chiefs. And the Eagles took Jahad Campbell, stud linebacker that Tampa was looking at from Bama. Great pick.
Oh my God.
And I am gassed. All right, Chief. Offensive tackle. If it ends up being that, I know you won't be too mad. You guys need offensive line, so. Well, especially when the Bears, chose a guy in the same position. So we got extremely lucky that they're stupid. We're down to the last pick once they read off the Jahad Campbell here, which is already a done deal. Eagle fans are just going to lose their shit. They're like, another Bama Georgia guy? Awesome. The rich get richer. Dude, and you know who's going to be the most happy is Jahad Campbell going to the fucking Eagles. Are you kidding me? Like, you couldn't have asked, for a better team to go to, especially if he was going to slip in the draft. I mean, I would have loved him in Tampa. And that would have been a happy destination for him. But to go to Philly, I mean, you got to be ecstatic. Any Georgia player or fucking Bama player. Great pick. He's from the Pacific Northwest. Obviously Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are getting older. We got McMillan. So now we can pair that up with Cade Otton and Bucky Irving and Rashad White. I mean, we could have ended up going for Jahad Campbell at linebacker. That would have made sense. Or going corner, but I like the pick. I know you're a Buck fan as well, and it's going to work out. I mean, I've been following him for a long, long time, so. And Shedeur Sanders not going to the Chiefs. Pick is in by Kansas City. We'll see if they go offensive line. That would be the smartest move for them. Like, we didn't really need Emeka Egbuka at the pick. We could have went offensive line. We could have, went corner, linebacking core. Obviously, we know Levante David is on his last year, but we can always address that in the next round. So, again, I really like the pick, and Jalen McMillan was much better than Rome Odunze, and it shows you, we're building with Baker Mayfield. It's going to be great. You're going to the fucking champs. That's got to feel good. Like literally the only place in the NFL where Georgia and Bama players will actually get along, you know, because you're going to a common cause, the Eagles. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. And we will in this draft. You know, we'll get more guys. You know, just kind of a damn shame that Devin White never panned out fully for us. But Levante David is the closest thing to Derek Brooks that we got, and those are my, you know, two favorite players, you know, from the past and obviously on the present team right now. I'm a linebacker guy through and through, so I like safety, like Antoine Winfield Jr. I love offensive line. I love, you know, who we have on the roster. Yep, Richard just got Richard, baby. And the Chiefs are selecting Ohio State left tackle Josh Simmons. There it is, Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons from Ohio State to the Bucks, to the Chiefs. That's a good pick. And again, that's exactly where you needed to go as offensive line, and you did. Nice job. And that's verified, too. Left tackle Josh Simmons from the Buckeyes. Just won the Natty. Great pick by the Chiefs, man. And again, if you wouldn't have picked offensive line, it would have been like, come on, man, you got to do it. Same thing with like the Seahawks. It's very clear on certain teams, you know, when you need to fill the gap. And you know, great job by not straying. You did exactly what you needed to do. Anytime you get a player from the Buckeyes, you know, or certain schools, Georgia, Bama, you know what you're getting to a certain degree. Well, of course, you know, there hasn't been that many that have been taken off the board. There's going to be plenty. But again, it's all about character, you know, body size, weight, feet, you know, hands, you know, personality, you know, and again, you know, there's not going to be many guys that are going to replicate, you know, this like swagger than coming from a team that just came off a natty, right? You got to think if they didn't have good offensive linemen, they wouldn't have won the natty. You know, they needed that time, you know, for Howard to go to Henderson and all those weapons they had. So, and I'll wait for them to announce it here, and then we will end the stream. The boy's tired as fuck. And there it is, Simmons from the Buckeyes, baby. Congrats, Chiefs fans. Congrats, Odin. Congrats, Chief. Well, Chief. Good pick. Well, I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thank you guys so much for all the love. Reflect with a 3, Sarah with a 5, Captain with a 20, Cole with a 5, Cole with a 1, Reflect with a 5, Sarah with a 2, Cole with a 2, and Megan with a 2, Chief with a 5, and a 5 to end it off. I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. And again, tomorrow we're going to end up doing the Mariners and the Marlins at 6:30 Pacific. Enjoy rounds 2 and 3. I will be watching from home with Paisley at 4 o'clock Pacific, and I hope you guys end up getting all the players that you want. And I got one question for you. But you know, talk sports like us. Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. I love you guys. You guys are the best, and I am out. Gang.